Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. Okay, we're starting on day 3. There are 18 days to the trial. We're starting on day 3. We do get a verdict at the end. Um, so this guy moved to the border, one of the border homes, Mexico, United States, and from his side, he saw, some illegal immigrants, which he thought were drug runners coming through his property. He says he shot in the air with an AK-47 or an AR style rifle, sorry, AR style rifle. And he called Border Patrol to help out. Border Patrol called the sheriff. They came, they looked, they didn't find anything. Later that day, he was out checking. He found a body. So he called Border Patrol again. Border Patrol called the sheriff and they came back. So that's pretty much a quick summary of what we've done so far. You should actually go back and watch the other videos. You shouldn't really start right here, but if you do, that's fine. It's your life. You can start here and maybe you'll skip a lot of the boring stuff. Although the defense attorney's opening statement was on point. It really, really was on point. As soon as she got done talking, he was innocent. I I was innocent. And also the way she opened, I felt like myself, have personally conspiracy theory tried to get him arrested. That's how good she was. She was so good that even I felt guilt. Like, oh man, I must have did something wrong over here. Um, no, she was really good. So we haven't heard much from her. We've heard just from the other co-counsel at the table, which is fine. Her name is Kathy, so hey. Um, it looks like somebody brought a dolly into the room. I wonder why. I don't know. We'll see. But we're starting with day 3. We see this guy's here again. We don't see this other guy. I still don't know who she is, but um when we left off yesterday, we were done with Jeremy, the border liaison officer. I think. I don't know if we had any other witnesses other than him yesterday. So I don't know who they're bringing forward today. Let's get into it and see.
Counsel and the defendant. All right, the jury is absent. We got a question from the jury that was distributed to the parties. Please clarify the difference between checkpoint, parentheses, border patrol checkpoints on highways, and B, port of entry located in international fence, such as DeConcini Port of Entry and the Mariposa Port of Entry. It's from juror number 3. What are counsel's thoughts? I'm not really sure what the question is, actually.
Your Honor, I have a suggestion from the government is we have one witness, but the next witness for this afternoon will clarify the issue, because I think there's some terminology used with Agent Marcel about checkpoint and port of entry. So I bet the inquiry is explain what those two things are. And so we have a witness who will be coming up to could explain that.
Well, it sounds like whoever wrote this question knows what the difference is.
And
so that's why I'm not sure. I'm kind of thinking maybe the question has something to do with what's the legal significance maybe between what happens at the two different ones, but I'm not really sure. Ms. Lothar, you have any thoughts?
I mean, if you just take what is being asked, they asked for clarification, the difference in definition. So I think we should, as suggested by the state, to get those two things clarified, what's the difference, and then see if another question comes from that. That would be my recommendation to the court.
Yeah, I mean, you can clarify it, but it sounds like the person knows what it is. We might ask the juror to clarify their question. So, all right, we'll just deal with it. Then my judicial assistant communicated to me the state has,
He has no briefcase today, but I think he's wearing blue jeans again. I don't think he's a lawyer, guys. What is this guy right here?
would have a request regarding testimony of DRR. What is DRR? Is that right? When is
Yes.
if so, when is DRR going to testify?
Daniel Ramirez is going to be testifying first this morning. And the issue the
Ooh,
state
Daniel.
wants to address with the court is his image being uploaded for mass consumption with the public. And so he is a
First
victim of
question I
the
have
case.
is why are we hearing this the minute before this guy's going to testify?
No, we're just concerned about his
I know,
image
but why are
being-
you raising it now? I mean, I'm ready to bring the jury in. It's 8:35.
We're just bringing a concern about his image being broadcasted. We just want to address the court. And so if the court doesn't grant the issue for us, we live with it. If the court does say the victim's image will not be uploaded, then the camera can't pan over to the victim,
All right, so what is the request?
not to upload the victim's image
Oh, and for what reason?
for security reasons.
And, okay, what's the security concern?
Well, yeah, obviously, Your Honor, he is a victim of a high profile case. He travels back and forth through the port of entry, where his identity will be now known both on this side and also on the Mexican side. And so we're just concerned about his image being broadcasted to the world. And so that's what our concern is for his security. And so we're bringing it up because he's concerned about it. And so we want to make sure we address that with the court prior to him testifying.
Does the defense have any position?
Yes, Judge, we believe these proceedings should be public. We're all here. It's obviously a high-profile case. There is no specifically articulated security concern other than this is an alleged victim in a high-profile case. Frankly, I don't see what the danger is. Nobody knows where this person lives. Nobody knows when he's coming across. The only time he comes across to come to court, he's escorted by law enforcement. So I don't see any safety concern, and we object to any part of these proceedings being closed to the public. And I think not allowing people to see this witness is essentially closing this to the public.
You know, this is the kind of thing that I have to look at and consider and bring it up the minute before the gentleman's supposed to testify does not allow me to do that. I understand the concerns for his safety, but this is something that I need to look at. So, you know, is there any alternative? Does he have to go first? Because, you know, I don't have any opportunity to look at the law on this.
The government just wanted to present this to you, his concern for his safety. And so we're fine proceeding as is. I just want to bring it to the court's attention. If the court is reluctant to rule on it because it's an in the moment decision, the state's ready to proceed with him as the first witness. I just want to bring that up to the court's attention. We appreciate that this is a in the moment decision. We appreciate that and we'll live with it. This is a victim who expressed that concern for us. So
When did he express that concern?
this morning for us.
Well, you know. All right, let's take a 5-minute recess.
We just got settled. We're ready. We're in the roll of it. Fine. I can get rid of 5 minutes fast. That's way more than 5 minutes, dude. Judge, Your Honor, sir.
Be seated. All right. The record show we're on the record. The records show the presence of counsel and the defendant, and the jury is absent. So the issue really breaks down to the court performing a balancing test, balancing the privacy and security interests of the victim, trying to evaluate that and weigh that against the public's right to know, to view, and to observe the proceedings this is an open proceeding. I mean, anyone from the public can come in and sit here and watch the witness testify. Obviously, the witness is not going to be obscured in any way as he's testifying here in open court. That's because the jury has to be able to see his face as he's testifying, because that's part of their way that the jury evaluates credibility. So anyone can come into court and watch the gentleman testify and see his face in person. But obviously then recording it, streaming it live, and making it available for posterity to whoever wants to see it is quantitatively different. But I need to have an assessment of what the actual security risks are to this witness. And I think a generalized statement that he's concerned for his security isn't going to do it, particularly in the context of I'm just learning about this at the point in time when the gentleman wants to testify. Has anything happened to him? And this case has been pending for over a year now, well over a year. I mean, has anything happened to him during the 15 months or so that this case has been pending? He's also been identified as a witness. I mean, his identity is known as a public record. But has anything gone on that gives him any particular concerns that you can articulate as to his safety?
No, Your Honor.
Hasn't received any threats from anyone?
Not that's been expressed to the government, Your Honor. Nothing specific. It was his demeanor and his want to have be as obscure as possible. We're conveying that because he feels like there is a security risk, and it's our duty to inform the court of his concerns. So that's what we did.
I understand, but has he articulated to you anything beyond that, any specific reasons why he has a concern for his safety?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Well, then, given that, I'm going to balance that versus his identity is known. It's not a secret. Any member of the public can come in here and see him. I'm not hearing any articulated specific security risks or dangers that the witness is able to express. This is a matter within the court's discretion. He's a Mexican citizen, and if he's over in Mexico and something happens, or if he has any concerns for his safety and security, that's the Mexican government's obligation to provide protection for him. So the request is denied. The court finds that the interests of the public, the right to know, observe, and to view these proceedings is very important. It's how the public evaluates the fairness and due process that's being afforded to all parties. So the request will be denied, and his image will be allowed to be projected. All right, let's bring in the jury.
Rise, de pie, por favor.
All right, good morning, everyone. Please be seated. The record will show the presence of all the jurors. Good morning again. We started a little late this morning. I've been in court with the lawyers since 8:30, dealing with a legal issue, so we've been here working. We do have one question from one of the jurors. It's juror number 3. It's concerning seeking a clarification of the difference between a checkpoint and a port of entry. I've discussed it with the lawyers. Here again, the lawyers tell me there are additional witnesses that will be present here in court who can really testify to that and explain that difference. But I want to be sure, Was that you? No, you're not. You're in the new juror number 3. I want to make sure I understand the question, or are you interested in more of an explanation of like if there's a legal significance difference
Not
between?
really, Your Honor, but I believe one of the attorneys was making reference to the checkpoint. And to me, the checkpoint is a vertical checkpoint located on the highway. And that was slightly confusing to me. I believe she meant the international port of entry, like the city. And was using the word.
I know what you're referring to, and I think I actually caught that myself, if we're thinking about the same thing. And I think we are. I think the witness just inverted the two things in their testimony, because I actually remember that specifically also. I think the witness said one when the witness actually meant to say the other. But we will have additional witnesses here, and if it's appropriate, you want to ask another question on that point, please do so. Okay, thank you for bringing that up. I'll give this question to the clerk for filing. We'll make that question number 1 to, what is this, day 3 of trial? Something like that. All right, the state can call its next witness.
Your Honor, the government's going to call Daniel Ramirez.
Over here.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in the matter before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Yes.
Sir, if you come over here, please, and have a seat. And Adriana, those headphones are for the transfer.
Yes.
Okay, so the head, just so you know, so there's no misunderstanding, court interpreter tells me these headphones are what the witness is wearing so he can better hear the translations from English into Spanish. All right, that's all it is. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Good morning.
Buenos
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
May I call you Daniel?
¿Le puedo llamar Daniel?
Sí.
Yes.
For the record, though, can you state your whole name for us?
Y para que conste en el acta, ¿me puede dar su nombre completo, por favor?
Daniel Alberto Ramírez
Daniel Alberto Ramírez
Varela.
Varela.
And can you spell the last names for the record?
¿Y me puede deletrear, por favor, sus apellidos?
R. Varela. B.
R.V. Varela.
That's fine. I think we're okay with that. Let me walk the jury through a little bit about who you are.
Le voy a explicar tantito al jurado un poco sobre usted, sobre quién es usted.
Is that okay,
¿Está
Daniel?
bien?
Sí.
Yes.
Just for the record, you've never testified other than a previous hearing in this case. This is the first time in front of a jury.
Y nomás para aclarar una cosa, usted nunca ha testificado antes, excepto en una otra audiencia anterior a esta, pero usted nunca ha estado testificando frente a un jurado.
No.
No.
A little nervous?
¿Está un poquito nervioso?
No estoy bien.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Let's talk about, Daniel, how old are you?
Vamos a ver, Daniel, ¿qué edad tiene?
43.
43.
43. And where are you from, Daniel?
Daniel, ¿de dónde es usted?
De Honduras.
I am from Honduras.
Is that where you were born?
¿Es donde usted nació?
Sí.
Yes.
And how long did you live in Honduras?
¿Cuánto tiempo vivió usted en Honduras?
13 años.
13 years.
13 years. And where'd you go after living in Honduras?
Y después de vivir en Honduras, ¿a dónde se fue usted?
A México.
To Mexico.
And why'd you go to Mexico?
¿Y a qué fue a México?
Buscando el sueño americano.
Looking for the American dream.
So your hope was to go to Mexico and then go to the United States?
Entonces lo que usted pretendía era ir a México para después ir a los Estados Unidos.
Sí.
Yes.
What's so good about the United States versus Honduras or Mexico?
Porque es mejor en los Estados Unidos o México que Honduras?
Porque la pobreza en Honduras es muy baja y no, pues no hay trabajo tampoco.
Um, because of poverty and there's not a lot of work in Honduras like there is here.
You mentioned it. You mentioned poverty. Are you a man of resources? Do you have money?
Usted menciona la pobreza. ¿Usted es un hombre con dinero? ¿Tiene dinero?
No,
No.
Do you have any land?
¿Tiene tierras?
no,
No.
Any cars?
¿Carro?
no,
No.
Jewelry?
¿Joyería?
no.
No.
Where do you currently live in Mexico?
¿Dónde vive usted ahorita en México?
I'm sorry. I
Quiero
mean,
Mascareña.
En the village of Mascareñas.
and don't give me the address, but is it a home? Is it what kind of place do you live in?
No necesito que me dé el domicilio, nomás dígame qué tipo de casa. ¿Es una casa?
Un rancho.
It's a ranch.
Do you have any family?
¿Tiene familia?
En Honduras.
En Honduras.
And is it a wife, significant other, partner?
Esposa,
No.
compañera.
No,
No.
No. Do you have any kids?
¿Tiene hijos?
no.
No.
Your parents and brothers and sisters?
Sus padres, hermanos, hermanas.
Hermanas y mi mamá.
Sisters and my mother.
How many sisters do you have?
¿Cuántas hermanas tiene?
3.
3.
Was it your hope to work in the United States to send money back to family?
Lo que usted esperaba al trabajar en los Estados Unidos era poderle mandar dinero a su familia.
Sí.
Yeah.
Daniel, I'm just going to be right up front with you. Do you work for a drug organization?
Daniel, voy a ser muy directo con usted. ¿Usted trabaja para una organización de drogas?
No,
No.
Do you work for the cartel?
¿Usted trabaja para algún cartel?
no,
No.
Do you work to help smuggle guns or drugs into the United States?
¿Usted trabaja para contrabandear armas o drogas a los Estados Unidos?
no.
No.
In this instance, this incident happened last year, January of last year. Correct?
Este incidente sucedió el año pasado, en enero del año pasado, ¿verdad?
Sí,
Yes.
This wasn't the first time you tried to come to the United States, is it?
Pero esa no fue la primera vez que usted intentó cruzar a los Estados Unidos, ¿verdad?
no.
No.
How many times have you tried to come into the United States for what you call the American dream? How many times?
¿Cuántas veces ha intentado cruzar usted a los Estados Unidos para conseguir lo que usted llama el sueño americano?
De
¿Cuántas
8 a
veces?
10 veces.
From 8 to 10 times.
So several times.
Wait a second. Hold on. They said it cost them like $10,000 to try to come over to the United States, which didn't make sense to me back then because all they have to do is pack a backpack and walk, or drive, or I guess if they're paying a guard, not a guard, a guide or something. Okay, I get that. But if they're paying $10,000 each time and he's come 10 times, he's not living in poverty.
Varias veces.
Sí.
Entonces. Yes.
And each time, were you successful?
Y cada una de las veces usted tuvo éxito,
No,
¿no?
Why weren't you successful?
¿Por qué no tuvo éxito?
porque siempre me agarraban.
Because they always caught me.
Who's the word they?
¿Quiénes me agarraban?
Migración.
Immigration,
U.S. immigration?
migración americana.
Sí,
Yes.
And when you crossed, did you have to pay anything to cross into the United States?
Y para cruzar usted tenía que pagar dinero para que lo cruzaran
Sí.
a los Estados Unidos.
Sí,
Yes.
We call that would be fair to say a crossing fee?
Es justo decir que es así como la cuota para cruzar.
sí.
Yes.
And do you know approximately how much money you paid as a crossing fee?
¿Y sabe usted aproximadamente la cantidad de dinero que usted pagó como la cuota de cruzada?
Sí,
Yes.
Well, how much money was that?
¿Cuánto dinero pagó?
de $2,500.
$2,500.
That's a lot of money to you, right?
Es mucho dinero para usted, ¿verdad?
Sí,
Yes.
Is that each time? 2,500 each time, so $25,000 for 10 times?
Did it take you a long time to save up that money to come to the United States?
Y le tomó mucho dinero ahorrar ese dinero para poder cruzar a los Estados Unidos.
sí,
Yes.
A lot of hard work?
Mucho trabajo.
mucho.
A lot.
What kind of work did you do in Mexico to earn that kind of money to come to the United States?
¿A qué se dedicaba en México para poder ganar ese dinero para venir a los Estados, para pagar la cuota para venir a los Estados Unidos?
En el campo, en tiendas, trabajé en tiendas, en todo lo que, de lo que hubiera de trabajo.
I worked the fields and some stores, whatever work was available.
And Daniel, I forgot to ask you this question because it's probably an appropriate time to ask.
Y Daniel, se me olvidó hacerle esta pregunta. Creo que ahorita es el momento más apropiado para hacerla.
How much education do you have?
¿Qué tanta escuela tiene?
Al 6º grado.
6th grade.
Can you read or write English?
¿Usted sabe leer o escribir en inglés?
No,
No.
And obviously, can you speak English?
Obviamente ¿sabe hablar inglés?
no,
No.
Can you read and write Spanish?
¿Sabe leer y escribir en español?
sí.
In Spanish, yes.
Now, going back to the fee that you paid to come to the United States,
Ahora, regresando al monto que usted pagó para cruzar a los Estados Unidos.
and you said you crossed 8 to 10 times,
Y usted dijo que había cruzado como 8 o 10 veces.
Sí,
Yes.
you didn't have to pay. Did you have to pay $2,500 per time?
Usted tuvo que pagar los $2,500 cada una de esas veces.
por veces, sí.
Each time, yes.
Did they, if, I'm gonna give you a scenario, if you paid $2,500 and you got caught, did you have to pay the next time to cross?
Le voy a dar un ejemplo. Si usted pagó los $2,500 para cruzar y en eso lo agarran, la próxima vez tiene que volver a pagar esa cantidad.
2 veces, no.
2 times I didn't.
Okay, so they gave you what we call, do you understand the term credit?
¿Entiende usted el término crédito?
Crédito.
That's fine.
Credit, no.
That's fine. But when you paid and you got caught, you didn't necessarily have to pay the very next time, did you?
Entonces, cuando pagó y luego lo agarraron, la próxima vez usted ya no tenía que pagar.
No,
No.
Okay. And then not every single time you had money to pay the fee, right? Not every single time.
Y no siempre, cada una de las veces, no siempre usted tenía dinero para pagar, ¿verdad?
no.
No.
One time you carried drugs into the United States as your fee.
Una de las veces usted cruzó con drogas como parte de su
Objection
cuota.
leading.
Sí,
Overruled, the answer's in.
Yes.
Were you punished for bringing drugs into the United States?
Lo castigaron. Usted recibió un castigo por haber traído drogas a los Estados Unidos.
sí.
Yes.
Did you enter a plea deal with the United States?
Usted aceptó un convenio declaratorio con los Estados Unidos.
Sí.
Yes.
And after that plea deal, were you deported?
Y después de ese convenio, acuerdo declaratorio, ¿a usted lo deportaron?
Sí.
Yes.
How many times did you bring drugs into the United States?
¿Cuántas veces cruzó usted drogas a los Estados Unidos?
Una vez.
One time.
And that's the one time you're talking about.
Y esa es de la vez que estamos hablando.
Sí.
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
¿Usted recuerda cuándo fue eso?
The year?
El año.
2014.
2014.
Now let's talk about close in time to this event.
Ahora vamos a hablar sobre el tiempo más cerca a lo que sucedió.
Okay.
¿Ok?
Okay. Walk us through your decision process about coming into the United States this time around.
Explíquenos un poquito sobre cómo pensó usted las cosas para cruzar a los Estados Unidos.
Pues tenía que trabajar y estar trabajando y ir a trabajar. Venía para Phoenix y conocí a Gabriel.
Yes, well, I had to work. I have been working, and I wanted to cross and go to Phoenix, and that's when I met Gabriel.
Who did it? Guys, I heard Candy. I can't see Mr. Kelly. Who did it? Who was the culprit? Help me, guys.
I'm going to show.
Is
I'm gonna
he
show you.
chewing on something?
I'm going
Move.
to show you a picture. Before I do, I want to go back and what was the drug that you brought into the United States in 2014?
Le voy a enseñar una foto, pero antes de eso, dígame por favor, ¿qué droga cruzó usted en el 2014?
Marihuana.
Marijuana.
I'm going to show you a photograph just for the attorneys and for you, not for publication.
Le voy a enseñar una foto.
Government Exhibit 118.
Este es el elemento de cargo 11A.
Do you see that photo on your screen, Daniel?
¿Usted ve esa foto ahí en la pantalla?
Sí.
Daniel?
We
Yeah.
can't see it.
Oh,
I mean, you can just show them the piece of paper while you're right there. You can just. Never mind.
they can see it. Yeah, they can see it. Though. Let me do this an old-fashioned way as we set this up.
Hold on. Hold on a second.
I don't see the evidence. Is that 118?
Yeah.
Do you have anything on your screens?
Yeah, so this is the photo we called out from there.
Okay, it's not on the chart.
You're gonna want to do this again, so let's try and figure it out. You're right.
Did you say 118? Because that's already taken.
It's already taken?
It's just confusing me when the numbers are matching. Thank you.
It's off? It's now off in the jury. I think that's where we need to be. Okay.
I'm confused on it.
Okay.
Daniel, you see a red thing on your screen? Something red?
Daniel, ¿puede ver algo rojo ahí en su pantalla?
Sí.
Yeah.
Okay. Jury. All right.
Let me just tell you why we go through this process, okay? So whatever's going to be shown is not yet admitted into evidence. Whether or not something can be admitted into evidence is the judge's decision based on whether there's what we call proper foundation, whether a witness can say the things that shows that they have some awareness, familiarity, qualifications to talk about the document. It's not proper for jurors to see the document until I decide whether or not to admit it in evidence. I may decide not to admit it in evidence. If I decide not to admit it in evidence, it doesn't go into evidence and you never see it and you're never supposed to see it. So if you see it, and I decide it's not supposed to go into evidence, it's trying to like unring the bell, right? So that's why we do it this way. And this process, when it works, is a more efficient way of doing it. Otherwise, the lawyer's got to show it to him, to them, and walk all around like we were kind of doing it yesterday. So that's why we're trying to get to make this thing work. And that's why we do it the way we do it. All right. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you.
Before he shows the witness that photograph, can we do a conference?
Oh, all right.
This white noise is going to put me to sleep, guys. I can't do white noise like this. That's better. Thank you.
Yes.
Do the Statue of Liberty play. The Statue of Liberty.
Now, good. Well, before you show them the photograph, you're going to have to lay foundation for that before you show them the photograph, because it is, otherwise, the defense is correct. It is an unduly suggestive in-court identification. But so we'll see what kind of foundation he's able to lay about his ability to identify the victim independent of seeing this photograph. And after that happens, the defense has reserved its, you can object again if the foundation is not sufficient. Travel to the location of Mr. Kelly's ranch. Okay. But remember, I'm not overruling your objection at this time. I want to see what additional foundation the state is able to lay. Okay. Hold on. Oh yeah, absolutely. So what is this exhibit number? All right, okay. All right. We'll cut. We'll deal with this issue later. We'll deal with this issue generally later. All right, we're back on the record before the jurors. Thank you for your patience. You can proceed.
Daniel, on January 30th of last year, the day of this incident, you met up with a bunch of individuals to come to the United States together.
Usted se reunió con varios individuos para llegar a los Estados Unidos todos juntos, ¿verdad? Yes.
All right, and before doing that, you met up with an individual before coming.
Y antes de eso, antes de hacer eso, usted se reunió con un individuo antes de venir.
Who is that individual that you talked to about coming to the United States with?
¿Quién es ese individuo con quien usted habló sobre llegar a los Estados Unidos?
No lo conocía.
I didn't know.
You didn't know. You, I mean, So we've, might be a misunderstanding here.
Yo sí entendí mal, que expliqué mal, quizá hay un malentendido.
When you wanted to come to the United States to work around January 30th of last year,
Cuando usted quería venir a los Estados Unidos para trabajar el 30 de enero del año pasado,
did you talk to someone in Mexico on the border about coming over?
¿usted habló con alguien en México en la frontera sobre cruzar
Sí,
la frontera? Yes.
Yes. And who was that?
¿Y quién fue esa persona?
no, solo sé que le decían el cholo.
The only thing I know is that he was called El Cholo.
Oh, I think we're two different things. Who is the other, was there a friend of yours you came across with?
Muy bien, dos cosas diferentes. ¿Quién fue? Usted cruzó con un amigo suyo.
Sí, pero íbamos varios.
Yes, but there were several of us.
Sure. Who is the individual you talked about coming across? What was the plan of coming across? Where were you going to go, and what kind of work were you planning on doing?
Entendido. ¿Y quién era ese individuo? ¿Cuál fue el plan para cruzar? ¿Qué es que usted estaba pensando en hacer al llegar aquí?
No le,
Requires repetition, perdón.
no le compré.
Don't understand.
What city were you planning on going to when you came into the United States?
¿Qué ciudad estaba planeando llegar al llegar a los Estados
Phoenix.
Unidos? Phoenix.
Phoenix. And what kind of job were you planning on doing when you got to Phoenix?
¿Y qué clase de trabajo estaba planeando hacer al llegar a Phoenix?
El roof de los techos, de la albañilería, lo que hubiera.
Roofing, also construction, masonry.
And whose idea was that? Was that your idea or somebody you knew?
¿Y esa idea fue de quién? ¿Fue de usted o fue de alguien que usted conocía?
De unos parientes que conocí.
Some relatives I knew.
All right. Was there, did you meet up with a friend of yours before coming across the border?
Objection
¿Se reunió
leading.
usted con
Sustain,
amigos?
sustain. Don't answer the question. Sustain.
Do you know any of the people that you came across the border with, Daniel?
Cuando usted cruzó la frontera, ¿usted conocía a alguien con quien cruzaba la frontera?
No,
No.
The name Gabrielle doesn't ring a bell to you?
El nombre
Objection
Gabriel
leading.
no le suena.
Overruled. It's just whether it rings a bell, whether it's the name he recalls or not. Yes or no.
You can answer.
Puede contestar la pregunta. ¿Se acuerda del nombre Gabriel?
de Gabriel.
Gabriel.
And who is Gabriel?
¿Quién es Gabriel?
A él lo conocí en la obra en Nogales.
I met him
Fuimos
in
compañeros.
construction in Nogales. We were workmates.
And this is your first time testifying, right?
Otra vez, esta es la primera vez que usted dé testimonio, ¿correcto?
And with a jury.
Con un jurado.
Sí,
Yes.
You a little nervous?
¿Está usted un poco nervioso?
poco.
A little bit.
My questions can sometimes be confusing.
Objection
A
leading.
veces mis preguntas
Overall.
pueden ser un poco confusas.
You can be honest.
Puede ser honesto.
Está bien.
Okay.
So Gabrielle is an individual you met in Nogales, Sonora.
Entonces, Gabriel es un individuo que usted conoció en Nogales, Sonora.
Sí,
Yes.
And what was your relationship with Gabrielle?
¿Qué relación tenía usted con Gabriel?
no más compañeros del trabajo ahí en la obra.
We were just work companions at the construction site.
So you worked together in Mexico together for a little bit?
Entonces trabajaron ustedes juntos en México de un rato.
Los mirábamos ahí en el trabajo.
We would see each other there at the job.
How, what's the time frame? How long did you know Gabrielle before coming across the border?
¿Cuánto tiempo conocía a Gabriela antes de cruzar la frontera?
Como un año por ahí.
Like a year or something like that.
So you knew him for a little bit.
Así que lo había conocido un rato entonces. Yes.
On the day of January 30th, did you travel to the United States, right?
El día 30 de enero usted viajó a los Estados Unidos, ¿correcto? Yes.
Was Gabrielle with you?
¿Estuvo Gabriel con usted?
En el momento que íbamos a cruzar ahí.
Yes, and the moment that we were going to cross, that was when we saw each other.
Okay, and he crossed with you.
Y él cruzó con usted.
Sí.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm gonna show Gabrielle the photograph.
Wait,
Same objection, Your Honor.
All right. objections overruled.
No.
Not for publication. I'm gonna show you it's been marked, I believe it's gonna be 118. We'll correct that later, but 118.
Le voy a mostrar lo que ha sido, creo, marcado como prueba de cargo 18.
Daniel, do you recognize that photograph?
Daniel, ¿usted reconoce esa foto? Yes.
Who is that?
¿Quién es esta persona?
Gabriel.
Gabriel.
Is that a fair representation of what you remember Gabrielle as?
Es una buena representación de cómo usted se acuerda de Gabriel.
Sí.
Yes.
You're gonna move to admit Exhibit 118.
No objection.
All right, 118 is admitted.
Permission to publish?
Granted.
And again, Daniel, the photo on the screen, that's Gabriel?
Otra vez, Daniel, la foto que
glad we
está en la
can't see it
pantalla
very
es
well.
Gabriel.
Sí.
Yes.
Let's talk about January 30th of 2023, last year.
Ahora quiero hablar sobre el 30 de enero del año pasado.
Walk the jury through the day so they understand what happened to you on that day.
Explíquele al jurado sobre ese día para que ellos puedan entender qué les sucedió a usted ese día.
Pues, yo, miramos la Guardia Patrón, llegamos a una carretera de tierra.
Well, we saw the Border Patrol. We made it to a dirt road.
Y entonces miramos la Guardia Patrón y el grupo que ellos, pues, ellos iban al frente de nosotros. Y ellos corrieron y nosotros corrimos y ya, pues, ya no vimos nada de ellos. Y lo regresamos para modo que no los hagan mirar a la migración.
So we saw the Border Patrol, and those in front went off. They went forward, and we went back. And we went running. They went running forward, and we did that so that the Border Patrol wouldn't see us.
Okay, Daniel, I'm gonna go back further in
Daniel,
time on that day.
Voy a retroceder un poquito en cuanto a tiempo sobre ese día.
Walk me through before you crossed the border. Walk me through the events before crossing the border.
Explíqueme sobre los eventos que sucedieron ese día antes de que usted cruzara la frontera ese mismo día.
Perdón, antes de cruzar para el Estados Unidos.
Sorry, do you mean before crossing into the United States?
I do.
Sí.
Pues estábamos esperando, y nomás que llegara para irnos, para estar un poco tarde.
Well, we were waiting there to cross. It was getting to be a little bit late.
Waiting where?
Esperando en donde?
En el muro.
There at the wall, at the border wall.
Is at that border wall, is it the whole thing a wall or is this where the end of the wall?
En ese muro, ¿es todo un muro o ustedes estaban en el lugar donde termina el muro? Where the wall ends.
And who's with you?
¿Y quién está con usted en ese momento? The whole group.
Well, how many people estimate?
¿Cuánta gente en el grupo? 8, 9 people.
And what time of day is this?
¿Qué horas son del día?
Eran como las 12.
It was like 12.
And then why were you waiting?
¿Por qué estaba usted esperando?
Porque para que llegara el que iba a cruzar.
Because we were waiting for the person who was going to cross us.
That person show up eventually?
Y apareció esa persona por fin. Yes.
Do you know who that person's name was?
¿Usted sabe cómo se llama esa persona?
El cholo no.
The only thing I know is that he's called El Cholo.
And what happened after Ancholo gets there? What happens?
Y luego ya, ¿qué pasa cuando El Cholo llega? ¿Qué pasa? We walked and then we jumped.
Jumped what?
Brincaron que
Para el lado americano.
to go over to the United States.
Okay, so you just jump and now you're in the United States?
Así que brincan y ya están en los Estados Unidos.
And where are you going?
¿Y a dónde van?
Vamos ya venimos fijando para allá, para mí van a ayudar. Vamos a buscar.
We're going to the place where we're going to get picked up a car. I don't know.
Did anyone tell you if there's a name of this location?
Alguien le dijo el nombre de este lugar.
No sé que íbamos a cruzar una carretera de tierra.
No, all I knew was that we were going to cross a road, a dirt road.
Then walk us through as you cross and as you're walking, walk us through what goes on.
Entonces explíquenos qué pasa mientras están cruzando y caminando, qué pasa.
Y llegamos a Border Patrol.
We saw the border patrol.
How far into your walk did you see the Border Patrol?
¿Cuánto tiempo habían estado caminando ya cuando ustedes vieron a la patrulla fronteriza?
Como una hora.
Like an hour and a half in?
Okay. And what happened let me ask you, do you know if Border Patrol saw you?
Bueno, pregunta. ¿Usted sabe si la patrulla fronteriza lo vio a usted? No.
So when you saw Border Patrol, what happened to the group?
Entonces, cuando usted vio al Border Patrol, la patrulla fronteriza, ¿qué pasó? ¿Qué le pasó al grupo?
Pues no supe de ellos y pues yo y Gabriel tuvimos que correr para esconder lo que no lo vean.
I don't know what happened with the rest of them, but Gabriel and I, we went running, and then we hid.
So you ran and hid with Gabrielle.
Entonces, usted corrió y luego se escondió con Gabriel. Yes.
So let's walk through. How long did you run and hide? How long did you run and hide for?
Entonces, paso a paso, ¿cuánto tiempo corrió y cuánto tiempo estaba escondiéndose?
Unos 15 minutos correr a
Like 15 minutes running.
And then you hid the other time.
Y luego, también escondió el otro tiempo.
no sé, ya después íbamos a caminar cuando empezamos a
No, we were going to start to walk when the shots started.
Oh, okay. So so when Border Patrol saw you, you and Gabrielle splintered off. Is that fair to say?
Bueno, entonces un patrullero, o sea, un patrullero del Border Patrol lo vio a usted y luego usted y Gabriel se separaron del grupo. ¿Se puede decir eso?
Sí.
Yes.
All right. And before I get too far into this, let me ask you, Daniel, did you have any weapons on you?
Muy bien. Antes de hablar más, le quiero hacer una pregunta, Daniel. ¿Portaba usted algún tipo de arma en ese momento? No.
Did you have any drugs on you?
¿Llevaba drogas en ese momento? No.
Do you know if Gabrielle had either weapons or drugs on him?
¿Usted sabe si Gabriel llevaba drogas o armas en ese momento? No.
No, you don't know, or no, you know he did not have them?
No sabe o no portaba.
no portaba.
He wasn't carrying.
He wasn't carrying a gun or carrying drugs.
No portaba ni drogas ni tampoco armas.
No.
No.
And then when you mentioned you were hiding, what's the terrain like there? Do you remember what the terrain was like? The vegetation, the trees and the grass? Do you remember what that was like?
Ahora, usted mencionó que se escondió. ¿Cómo es el terreno, la vegetación, los árboles, el pasto? ¿Cómo nos puede describir cómo fue el terreno?
Zacate amarillo, estaba zacate seco.
Yellow grass, it was dry.
Árbol, mezquite.
Trees, mesquite trees.
How tall was that yellow grass?
¿Qué tan alto fue el pasto, el zacate verde, amarillo?
Como de tierra rodilla.
From here to the ground to my knees, to the knees.
And then you mentioned that there was shooting happened.
Y usted mencionó que había disparos, que hubo disparos. Yes.
Walk the jury through that scene for us.
Explíquele al jurado cómo estuvo ese incidente.
Caminamos, veníamos caminando, como venía malo y no traíamos suficiente agua, pues íbamos descansando tantito y cuando íbamos-
Momentico. So we were walking and we weren't doing very well. We didn't have any water, so we decided to rest a little bit. Descansamos un tantito.
Y pues los paramos ya cuando íbamos a empezar otra vez a caminar, fue cuando empezaron a disparar.
And we stopped. And when we were about to start to walk again, that was when the shots started.
What happened? Walk
¿Y
us
qué
through that.
sucedió? Explíquenos qué
Volteaban
sucedió.
para todas partes y no miraban a nadie, miraban y los hablaba a nadie, no va a ser un caballo de lo que había.
We looked all around. We couldn't see anybody. There wasn't anybody there. The only thing that was there was a horse.
Anything else around that you can identify?
Algo más alrededor de donde estaban que usted pudo identificar.
Más a mi lado izquierdo, pero no de ahí venían los balas. Del lado izquierdo estaban una casa con pinos.
Just that on the left side there was a house with pines.
Okay, and do you know what direction the shots were coming from?
Y usted sabe de qué dirección venían los disparos.
Del lado derecho.
Right side over here.
On your right side, the shots were coming from your right-hand side?
Los disparos venían del lado derecho de usted.
Sí.
Yes.
In what direction were you going at this time?
¿Y en qué dirección iba usted en ese momento?
Dirección a la frontera y atrás.
The direction we were going to the border, we were going back.
So you're heading back to the border and gunshots were coming from your right?
Entonces ustedes estaban yendo hacia la frontera, regresando a la frontera y los disparos venían del lado derecho de usted.
Sí.
Yes.
And you mentioned something about a horse. What was the horse?
Y usted mencionó algo sobre un caballo. ¿De qué se? Cuéntenos del caballo.
El caballo pues estaba cuando los primeros disparos el caballo brincaba y yo ya no me cago cuando me miré la persona que mi compañero Gabriel que ya me dijo me dieron.
Momentico. So there was a horse, and the horse at first started jumping, and then when I turned around, my companion Gabriel said, "I've been hit."
Do you know what color the horse was?
Usted sabe qué color qué color era el caballo. Red.
And when you just mentioned Gabriel turned to you and said he's been hit,
Y usted acaba de mencionar que Gabriel le dio la vuelta a donde estaba usted y dijo, me dieron. Yes, I've been hit.
and do you remember how many? I guess what you know.
The interpreter is ready.
Do you remember how many shots you heard?
¿Usted recuerda cuántos disparos escuchó? From 8 to 10 shots. But
Pero no fue de asustado ya
I was so scared, so I don't know how many more, but maybe 10.
And you were scared at this point.
Y en este momento usted ya estaba asustado. Yes.
You just testified that Gabriel was hit.
Y usted dio testimonio de que a Gabriel le habían dado. Yes, because he said, I've been hit.
And did he do anything like show you where he was hit or what happened?
Él hizo algo como que le enseñó dónde le habían dado o qué pasó. He just grabbed his chest and he went like that and he said, I'm hit.
And then what did you do after that?
Y después de eso, ¿qué hizo usted?
salí corriendo.
I started running.
Brincó por encima
Brincó por encima del...
de Gabriel.
I jumped over Gabriel and I started running.
In which direction were you running?
¿En qué dirección iba corriendo?
Al
in the direction of the border.
Walk us through as you're running. Did you do anything? Did you stop? What happened as you ran to the border?
A ver, vamos paso a paso. Explícanos, por favor, qué fue lo que pasó cuando iba corriendo de regreso a la frontera.
Agarré un barranco, me fui por un barranco y volteé a ver para atrás y miré, y ya miré, pero no miraba a nadie ni que lo que ya no se habían parado de disparar. Yo cuando miré que para atrás, pero ya le como una cancha de fútbol por ahí, así. Miré una persona nomás que andaba aplaudiendo.
Yes. So I jumped off a small cliff and I looked back and I didn't see anything. The shots had stopped. So I looked back and it was about the size of a football field. And that far away, I saw that there was a person standing there, the person that was firing at us.
Could you see what he looked like?
¿Usted pudo ver, vio cómo se veía esa persona?
No.
No.
And how long did it take from the gunshots as you ran away and you look back? Do you recall? If not, that's okay. Do you recall the time period by the time you turned back around and looked?
Y de cuando los disparos y luego usted empezó a correr, ¿verdad? Y luego se detuvo y volteó. ¿Usted recuerda más o menos? Y si no recuerda está bien, pero ¿usted recuerda cuánto tiempo pasó? About 15 minutes.
When you look back, did you see, you may not be able to recognize, but did you see anything about the person that you saw?
Y cuando usted volteó a ver otra vez, probablemente no reconoció a la persona, pero reconoció algo en la persona.
Nomás la camisa, nomás una camisa gris, nomás.
The only thing that I was able to, that I saw was that he's a gray shirt.
Anything about his head or anything about his head?
Algo en su cabeza.
No, nomás así blanco, miré otra cosa, no sé si sombrero.
I didn't see anything else. I just saw white, and I don't know if there was a hat. I didn't see.
You saw white up the top of his head.
Usted vio blanco así en la cabeza. Yes.
And was he, if you know, was he at the distance, was he where you thought Gabriel was at?
Y si, a ver si recuerda, él estaba donde usted cree que estaba Gabriel.
De la dirección de donde yo había corrido.
From the direction where I had run from.
And then to finish out, you run back to Mexico.
Y para terminar esto, usted corrió a México. Yes.
You weren't caught by BP on this time.
Esta vez no lo agarró la Border Patrol.
No.
No.
Then what'd you do when you got back to Mexico?
Y ya cuando usted llegó a México, ¿qué fue lo que hizo?
No, pues no, me quedé ahí tirado a un lado del muro.
No, I was just there on the side of the wall. It was just, I was still very nervous.
And then what happened? Eventually, you became someone contacted you. Walk me through what happened and how long after that did someone contact you?
Y después de eso, finalmente alguien lo contactó. Explíqueme, por favor, paso a paso.
No.
Cuando alguien lo contactó.
No,
No.
No what?
No, ¿qué?
no, yo me quedé porque hasta que oscureció porque yo estaba malo, no podía caminar, estaba vómito del susto.
No, because I stayed there till sundown because I was throwing up because I was so nervous. I was vomiting and vomiting and vomiting.
But eventually, someone from law enforcement gets a hold of you, right?
Pero bueno, después de eso, finalmente un agente de la policía se comunicó con usted.
Después,
After,
a los días.
days after.
Days after. And how'd that happen? Tell us how that happened.
¿Y cómo se dio eso? ¿Cómo pasó eso? Explíquenos cómo
Por
pasó.
parte de la familia de la familia de Gabriel.
by means of his family, of Gabriel's family.
So Gabrielle's family reached out to you.
Entonces, los familiares de Gabriel se comunicaron con usted.
No, un sobrino se queda de ella, de la muchacha.
A nephew or an uncle, I don't know the relationship to the daughters, the girls.
Reached out to you, and that's how you became involved in this case.
Ese señor fue el que se comunicó con usted y así fue como usted se involucró en todo este caso. Yes.
And going back to that group that came across around 12 o'clock that afternoon,
Ahora, regresando al grupo que cruzaron juntos, más o menos como a mediodía. Yes?
did any of them have, if you know, any of them have guns?
¿Alguno de ellos, si es que usted sabe, alguno de ellos traía armas?
No,
No.
Did any of them, if you know, have drugs?
¿Alguno de ellos, si usted sabe, alguno de ellos traía drogas?
no,
No.
And what I mean by guns, I'm also talking about handguns
Y cuando digo armas, digo pistolas
and also rifles.
o rifles.
no.
No.
No one had either of those two.
Nadie traía ninguna de esas dos cosas. No.
Just one moment, Your Honor. I want to clarify a couple of questions for you, Daniel.
Quiero aclarar un par de preguntas contigo, Daniel. Okay.
The horse, was it a big horse, skinny horse, tall horse, short horse? Describe the horse.
El caballo. Era un caballo grande, un caballo flaco, un caballo alto, un caballo chapito. Describa, por favor, el caballo.
Mediano, caballo, bueno, como con la para abajo.
Medium-sized horse, let's say from here down.
I'm sorry, I looked down when you did that. So
No, no, blanco aquí, así que-
And he had a white spot right here.
y no, bueno, estaba flaco.
And he wasn't fat, he was skinny.
and what side of, put the
An AR style rifle starts shooting at me. I am not remembering what the horse looked like. I'm just not. I just don't know where that came from.
horse, I'm trying to arrange myself in this the scenario when the shooting happened. Where was the horse in relationship to you and where the shots are coming from?
Ahora, estoy tratando de posicionarme en el lugar donde usted estaba cuando los disparos. Entonces, explíqueme dónde estaba el caballo en relación a usted y de dónde venían los disparos.
Al lado derecho de donde venían los disparos estaba el caballo. Estaba un cerco y luego estaba el caballo.
On the right side from where the fires were, where the shots were coming from, there was a fence and the horse was on the right.
Were the shots coming from the other side of the horse or was the horse between you and the shots or was it were the horse on the other side of the shots?
Muy bien, entonces el caballo estaba del otro lado de los disparos. Bueno, el caballo estaba entre usted y los disparos o estaba del otro lado?
Del lado de los disparos.
On the side from where the shots were coming from.
Okay. Let me talk about backpacks. Did people in the group have backpacks?
Ahora vamos a hablar de mochilas. Las personas en el grupo traían mochilas. Yes?
And what was in those backpacks, Daniel?
¿Qué traían en las mochilas, Daniel? Food?
Anything else?
Chamarra,
Food, jackets,
agua.
water.
And when Gabrielle was shot, he also had a backpack, right?
Y cuando a Gabriel le dispararon, él también traía mochila.
Sí.
Yes.
And when he was shot and you were assessing what was going on, did you go through his backpack?
Y cuando a él le dieron y usted estaba tratando de entender lo que estaba pasando, ¿usted se puso a registrar la mochila? No,
You ran.
usted corrió. I ran.
So the questions I have, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge. Just want to be clear. You said today that your name is Daniel Ramirez Valera. Is that right? Or Varela?
Varela.
Nomás quiero aclarar, dijo usted ahora que su nombre era Daniel Ramírez Varela. Varela.
Okay. You've testified in court about this before, right?
Usted ya ha dado testimonio en un tribunal sobre esto anteriormente, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes?
And when you testified previously, you stated your name was Daniel Ramirez Ruiz, correct?
Y cuando testificó anteriormente, usted dijo que su nombre era Daniel Ramírez Ruiz, ¿verdad?
Sí, porque tuve con los papeles, tuve un error con los papeles.
Because I had some mix-ups with my papers.
You had some mix-ups with your papers. What does
Tuvo
that
un
mean?
enredo con sus papeles.
Sí, porque traía papeles mexicanos.
Yes, because I had Mexican documentation.
You had Mexican documentation that has your name as Daniel Ramirez Ruiz, correct?
Usted traía documentos mexicanos con el nombre de Daniel con Ruiz. Yes.
Wake up, Judge.
Where did you get those documents?
Mexico.
¿De dónde consiguió usted esos documentos?
En la frontera ya de Guatemala.
At the border with Guatemala and Mexico.
Why did you change your name when you got Mexican paperwork?
¿Por qué se cambió el nombre cuando consiguió los documentos mexicanos?
No me lo cambié, sino que en lo que me hicieron los papeles me pusieron un apellido que no es.
I didn't change it. It's just when I got the documents, they wrote down a name that it wasn't.
So somebody else just wrote down the wrong last name?
Entonces alguien más escribió el apellido equivocado.
Sí.
Yes.
But you said that that was your name.
Pero usted dijo que ese era su nombre.
Daniel Alberto Ramírez Varela.
Daniel Alberto Ramírez Varela.
When you testified previously under oath, you testified that your name was Daniel Ramirez Ruiz, right?
Cuando usted dio su testimonio en la otra audiencia, usted estaba bajo juramento y dijo que su nombre era Daniel Ramírez Ruiz, ¿verdad?
Varela.
Varela.
You remember having a previous hearing where you testified before today. You remember that?
¿Usted se acuerda aquella otra audiencia, haber tenido otra audiencia donde usted dio su testimonio anterior a esta, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes?
And you told the court at that hearing that your name was Daniel Ramirez Ruiz. That's what you said on that date. You remember that?
Y usted le dijo al juez en aquella audiencia que su nombre era Daniel Ramírez Ruiz. ¿Se acuerda de eso?
Sí.
Yes.
And when you spoke with investigators in this case, you also told them that your name was Daniel Ramirez Ruiz. Is that right?
Y cuando usted habló con los investigadores en este caso, también les dijo que su nombre era Daniel Ramírez Ruiz. ¿Es correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
Even though that's not your real name.
Aunque ese no es su nombre verdadero.
Es mi nombre. Es mi nombre. Lo que pasa como yo traía papeles mexicanos y pues yo no traía otros documentos, sino que la imagen de los papeles que traía era de México.
Yes, that is my real name. It's just that since I had the documents from Mexico, I didn't have any other documentation except those papers from Mexico.
You're saying now that Daniel Ramirez Ruiz is your real name.
Ahora dice que Daniel Ramírez Ruiz es su nombre verdadero.
No.
No.
So that's not your real name.
Alberto Ramírez Varela.
Daniel Alberto Ramírez Varela, that is my full name.
So Daniel Ramirez Ruiz is not your real name.
Entonces, Daniel Ramírez Ruiz no es un nombre verdadero.
Ruiz no.
Ruiz, no.
Okay. But you did provide that name that's not your real name to the court and to investigators in this case, correct?
Pero usted sí le dio al juez y a los investigadores ese nombre que no es el correcto, ¿verdad?
El apellido. Que no.
The last
Siempre
name
dice
that
Varela.
the last name that is not, but I always said Varela.
You're telling me that you always told investigators in this case that your last name was really Varela.
Usted está diciendo ahora que usted siempre le dijo a los investigadores que su apellido correcto era Varela.
Sí.
Yes.
So all the investigators, when they testify, they'll say that you told them that your real name was Varela.
Entonces, cuando los investigadores den su testimonio, ellos van a decir que usted siempre les dijo que su nombre era Varela.
Sí.
Yes.
All right. You say that you've crossed into the United States approximately 10 times. Is that right?
Usted dice que ha cruzado los Estados Unidos aproximadamente 10 veces, ¿verdad? Yes.
And that's in pursuit of the American dream, correct?
Y eso es buscando el sueño americano, ¿correcto? Yes.
You also say that you've been caught every single time that you've attempted to cross into the United States, correct?
Y usted también dijo que cada una de las veces que ha intentado cruzar a los Estados Unidos lo han agarrado, ¿correcto? Yes.
And you also say that you've paid $2,500 every time you crossed. Is that correct?
Y usted también dijo que cada vez que ha intentado cruzar a los Estados Unidos ha pagado $2,500, ¿correcto? Yes.
And if you do that 10 times, that adds up to $250,000. Is that correct?
Y si usted ha hecho eso 10 veces, entonces suma a $250,000, ¿correcto? Yes.
25,000. I'm sorry.
$25,000.
Goodness.
25,000.
Thank you. That's a lot of money. Is that correct?
Eso es mucho dinero, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
¿De dónde viene ese dinero?
De lo que trabajo. Lo pongo un año.
From the time that I'm working, I save up a little and
Con mi familia me ayudaba.
or my family would help me.
How long does it take you to save up $2,500?
¿Cuánto tiempo le toma a usted poder ahorrar $2,500?
Depende del trabajo que tengan los familiares que me van a ayudar.
It depends on the work that my family members have who are helping me.
Your family members, you say, are in Honduras. Is that correct?
Sus familiares, usted dice, están en Honduras, ¿correcto? Yes.
And poverty is very bad in Honduras. You said that too, right?
Y hay mucha pobreza en Honduras. Usted dijo eso también, ¿correcto? Yes, yes.
But your family is able to raise this money for you somehow?
Pero su familia de todas formas puede recaudar ese dinero de alguna forma.
Familiares que ya están en Estados Unidos.
Family members who are in the United States now.
So you have family members who are in the United States who raise this money for you.
Entonces usted tiene familiares en Estados Unidos quienes consiguieron ese dinero para usted. Yes.
You've never worked in the United States, correct?
Usted nunca ha trabajado en Estados Unidos, ¿correcto? No.
Because you've been caught every single time you've attempted to come into the United States, correct?
Porque le han agarrado cada vez que usted ha intentado entrar a los Estados Unidos, ¿correcto? Yes.
Council, we're just going to take our mid-morning recess. We'll take a 30-minute recess. We'll come back at 10:30.
Eight times, 10 times. Try if try again if you don't succeed. I would stop at 10,000 though. 10,000 times, that's it. It's over, guys. All right. Here we go. Break's over. We're going to get Mr. Ruiz, who is absolutely not Mr. Ruiz, back on the stand.
rise, por favor.
Everyone, please be seated. We have the witness back up on the witness stand. The record to show the presence of all the jurors, counsel, and the defendant.
Why is the police escorting him?
Sí.
What is your name,
The
sir?
interpreter is just instructing the witness. He's answering before she's finished her questions, and it's distracting and doesn't make for a good record. So she's just instructing him to please wait until she finishes interpreting before he starts to provide an answer. Anyway, we're back. You can continue your cross-examination, Ms. Larkin.
Okay. So when we left, we were talking about the different times that you've come into the United States illegally. You recall we were talking about that?
Bueno, cuando tomamos el descanso, antes del descanso, estábamos hablando de las diferentes veces que usted ha entrado a los Estados Unidos ilegalmente. ¿Se acuerda de eso, señor?
Sí.
Yes.
Have you ever tried to come into the United States legally?
¿En algún momento ha intentado usted entrar a los Estados Unidos legalmente?
No comprende.
Legal no.
Legal? No.
Why not?
¿Por qué no?
Porque no tengo documentos.
Because I don't have documents.
Why don't you apply? Why didn't you apply or go through a legal process to try to come into the United States for the American dream?
¿Por qué nunca ha solicitado? ¿Por qué no intentó pasar por un proceso legal para entrar a los Estados Unidos de forma legal para conseguir el sueño americano?
Porque no tenía miedo me deportaran de para atrás.
Because I was afraid that I was going to be deported.
If you tried to come into the country legally, you were afraid that you would be deported?
Si usted entrara a los Estados Unidos legalmente, tenía miedo que lo iban a deportar.
Sí.
Yes.
But when you come into the country illegally, you do get deported, correct?
Pero sí sabe que cuando entra a los Estados Unidos ilegalmente, sí lo deportan, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
That's happened to you a number of times, right?
Y eso le ha pasado varias veces, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
So my question is, why didn't you try to come into the United States through some sort of legal means?
Entonces, mi pregunta para usted es, ¿por qué no intentó entrar a los Estados Unidos por algún proceso legal?
No.
Don't understand.
Did you understand that you could apply to try to come into the United States legally?
Entendió que usted sí podía solicitar, que puede solicitar para intentar entrar a los Estados Unidos de forma legal.
No sabía.
I didn't know that.
You had no idea that there was a legal process to come into the United States.
Usted no tenía ninguna idea que existía un proceso legal para entrar o para intentar entrar a los Estados Unidos.
No.
No.
You thought the only way to come into the United States was to come in illegally.
Usted pensó que la única forma que se podía entrar a los Estados Unidos fue de forma ilegal.
Sí.
Yes.
So you don't believe that the United States allows any legal migration?
Entonces, ¿usted no cree que los Estados Unidos permita algún tipo de migración legal?
Antes no.
Before, no.
Before what?
Antes de qué, señor?
Antes de venirme de Honduras para acá.
Before coming from Honduras to here.
Before coming from Honduras to here, you did not know that the United States allows legal migration.
Antes de venir de Honduras a acá, Usted no sabía que los Estados Unidos permite migración legal.
No,
You believed nobody's ever allowed to enter into the United States.
Usted pensaba que nadie nunca es permitido entrar a los Estados Unidos legalmente.
no sabía.
I didn't know.
When you paid for somebody to bring you into the United States, you're paying a smuggler, is that right?
Ahora cuando usted paga o pagó que alguien lo llevara a los Estados Unidos, usted está pagando un contrabandista, ¿verdad que sí?
Sí,
Yes.
And 10 times you've crossed every time you've paid a smuggler, is that right?
Las 10 veces que has usado, cada vez ha pagado un traficante.
sí.
Yes.
Did you use the same smuggler every time or a different smuggler?
¿Usaba el mismo traficante, el mismo contrabandista cada vez?
No.
No.
How do you find a smuggler to take you into the United States?
¿Cómo es que usted encuentra un traficante para llevarlo a Estados Unidos?
Porque busco en otras fronteras.
I look in other borders.
So my question is, how do you find a smuggler to take you to the United States?
Bueno, mi pregunta es, ¿cómo es que usted encuentra un contrabandista para llevarlo a los Estados Unidos?
Porque llegas a la frontera si cualquiera te dice te va a llevar.
Well, if you arrive at the border and any number, somebody will say, I'll take you.
So you without any plan, you just walk yourself to the border?
Entonces, sin ningún plan, usted nada más se camina a la frontera.
Sí,
Yes.
And smugglers just hang out at that area and wait for people to ask to be smuggled?
Y traficantes nada más pasan el tiempo ahí y esperan que la gente
I believe
llegue,
that.
Gente que quiere cruzar.
I think that's
Sí.
true.
Yes.
And when you walk to the border, you carry $2,500 with you?
Y cuando usted camina a la frontera, tienen su persona $2,500.
sí,
Yes.
In cash?
En efectivo.
sí,
Yes.
And the smuggler shows up at the border and you give the smuggler the cash?
Entonces el traficante aparece en la frontera y usted le entrega al traficante el efectivo.
sí.
Yes.
And everybody else who goes in the group with you, they do the same thing?
Y todos los demás que están con usted en el grupo hacen la misma cosa.
No sé.
I don't know.
So you show up and you give the smuggler $2,500 in cash.
Entonces usted aparece y usted le da al contrabandista $2,500 en efectivo,
Correct?
¿correcto?
Sí,
Yes.
But you have no idea if anybody else does that.
Pero usted no tiene ninguna idea si alguna otra persona hace eso.
no.
No.
Why do you pay a smuggler?
¿Por qué es que usted paga a un traficante?
Porque no tengo cómo.
Because I don't know, I don't have the means, the how.
Why don't you just walk across the border yourself?
That's a good question.
Why do you need a smuggler?
That's a good
¿Por qué
question.
es que usa traficante? ¿Por qué nunca nada más caminado, cruzado la frontera usted mismo?
Porque no conozco.
Because I don't know the place.
Why don't you find somebody who knows the place who will take you for free?
¿Por qué es que nunca he encontrado a nadie? ¿Por qué no encuentra a nadie que conoce el lugar y que lo va a llevar gratis?
Porque no cruzo por la misma frontera.
Interpreter requires repetition, Your Honor. ¿Por qué no cruzo por la misma frontera?
Sí.
Lo que dijo, because I don't cross in the same border.
If you know the way, so if you knew the way yourself, would you cross by yourself without paying a smuggler?
Si usted conociera bien la ruta, cruzaría usted mismo sin pagar a un traficante.
Si conociera así, pero no conozco.
If I knew, yes, but I don't know.
You wouldn't be worried about anything happening to you if you crossed by yourself without paying?
Usted usted no estaría preocupado que algo le sucediera a usted si usted pagara, si usted cruzara sin pagar.
Sí.
Yes.
You'd worry about criminal organizations being upset with you, right?
Usted se preocuparía por organizaciones delictivas que estarían molestos con usted, ¿correcto?
No comprendo.
Don't understand.
You pay a smuggler who works for a criminal organization. Is that right?
Usted paga a un traficante quien trabaja para una organización delictiva,
No sé.
¿correcto? I don't know.
You don't know.
No sabe.
That's your answer? You don't know?
La respuesta que usted dio es que no sabe.
No sé.
I don't know.
You don't know that smuggling is controlled by criminal organizations? You don't know that?
Usted no sabe que el tráfico es controlado por organizaciones delictivas.
No.
I don't know.
You have no idea about that at all.
No sabe nada sobre eso de ninguna forma.
No.
No.
You're aware that people bring drugs across the border. You're aware of that, right?
Usted sí está consciente que la gente lleva drogas por la frontera, cruzando la frontera, ¿correcto? ¿Está consciente de
Sí.
eso? Yes.
And you're aware that those people are controlled by criminal organizations, right?
Y usted está consciente que esa gente es controlada por organizaciones delictivas, ¿correcto?
No, no sé.
I don't know that.
You have no idea about that at all.
No tiene ni idea, nada de,
No.
no.
And you said you don't engage in drug smuggling, right?
Y usted dijo que usted no participa en traficar.
Not anymore.
Tráfico de drogas, ¿correcto?
No.
No.
And you don't engage in human smuggling either, right?
Tampoco no participa en el tráfico de personas, ¿correcto?
No.
No.
But you also admit that you did engage in drug smuggling before, correct?
Pero a la vez usted reconoce que en algún momento usted sí participó en tráfico de drogas antes, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
So you do engage in drug smuggling sometimes.
Entonces a veces sí participa en tráfico de drogas.
You answered the question?
¿Puede contestar la pregunta?
¿Cómo no?
I'm sorry, no.
The question is, you do sometimes participate in drug smuggling, correct?
La pregunta es si es correcto que usted a veces participa en tráfico de drogas, ¿sí?
Nomás una vez.
Just once.
So you have participated in drug smuggling, correct?
Yeah, he said that. Let's go, move on.
¿Correcto?
Correcto.
Correct.
And you didn't have to do that, correct?
Y no tenía que ser eso, ¿correcto?
No.
No.
You did that voluntarily, correct?
Usted lo hizo de su propia voluntad, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
You decided, I don't have this $2,500, so I'll carry drugs instead. You made that decision, right?
Entonces, usted decidió que no tenía los $2,500 y que en vez de pagar, usted iba a llevar a las drogas y fue una decisión que usted tomó, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
And on that occasion, did you just go up to the border and somebody offered this opportunity to you?
Y en esa ocasión usted nada más llegó a la frontera y alguien le ofreció esa oportunidad.
Sí.
Yes.
And you took it.
Y usted tomó la oportunidad.
Yeah.
Yes.
You said in the beginning of the day, and before I leave that question, you have done some previous interviews in this case. Is that correct?
Usted dijo que al principio del día, bueno, antes de hacer esa pregunta, usted dijo que sí había hecho usted algunas entrevistas antes, ¿correcto? Sobre este incidente, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
You remember meeting with a Detective Rodriguez from the county attorney's office?
Rodriguez.
¿Usted se acuerda que se reunió con un detective Rodríguez de la oficina de la Fiscalía del Condado?
Sí.
Yes.
And that was in February of 2023?
Y eso sucedió en febrero del año 2023.
Sí.
Yes.
And do you remember Detective Rodriguez asking you, or somebody in that interview asking you, have you ever transported drugs into the United States? Do you recall being asked that question?
You're-
¿Usted se acuerda que el detective Rodríguez le preguntó a usted o que alguien le preguntó a usted durante esta entrevista si en algún momento usted había trasladado drogas a los Estados Unidos? ¿Usted se acuerda que le hicieron a usted esa pregunta?
Sí.
Yes.
You don't have no objection to the question or the answer, but what page is she referring to on the prior interview?
I'm not referring to a page right now.
Okay.
Oh,
Get it.
she's making stuff up here.
And when you were asked that question, have you ever transported drugs into the United States? Your answer was no. Do you recall that?
Ahora, cuando le hicieron esa pregunta, si en algún momento usted había transportado drogas a los Estados Unidos, la respuesta que usted dio en ese momento fue no. ¿Se
Yeah.
acuerda de eso?
I'm going to object. If she's going to impeach the witness, I'd like to have a page number for the interview that she's referring to.
I don't think that's the basis for an objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
So you can answer the question. You stated when you were asked that question, your answer was no, correct?
Ahora sí puede usted contestar la pregunta. Entonces, cuando ellos le hicieron esa pregunta, usted declaró, usted dio como respuesta no, ¿correcto? No.
No, you did not say no to the question?
Well, you're
Okay.
No. gonna have to rephrase that without a double or triple negative.
Sure.
Otherwise, we're just gonna have more problems.
Your response when you were asked, have you ever transported drugs in the United States? You responded to the detective, right?
La respuesta que usted dio cuando le preguntaron si en algún momento usted ha trasladado drogas a los Estados Unidos y usted sí dio una respuesta al detective, ¿correcto?
No.
No.
Okay. Give me one moment.
This courtroom keeps getting really loud and then really, really quiet and then really loud background noise, not people.
Page 12, just for you guys. You were asked by Detective Rodriguez, or during this interview with Detective Rodriguez, they asked you, have you transported drugs into the United States? They asked you that question. You recall them asking you that question.
El detective Rodríguez le preguntó durante la entrevista, le preguntaron si usted en algún momento había trasladado drogas a los Estados Unidos. ¿Usted se acuerda que le hicieron esa pregunta?
No recuerdo.
I don't remember.
You don't remember them asking you that question?
No se acuerda usted que ellos le hicieron esa pregunta. No.
You just told me yes. When I asked you the same question a couple questions ago, you told me yes. You remembered them asking you that question.
Usted acaba de decirme sí cuando yo le hice esa pregunta hace unas preguntas que usted me dijo que sí se acordaba que ellos le hicieron esa pregunta.
But now you're telling me no, you don't remember them asking you that question.
Pero ahora está diciéndome que no se acuerda que ellos le hicieron esa pregunta.
There's no question pending.
Is that correct?
Es cierto.
No recuerdo.
I don't remember.
Okay, so you're changing your testimony now, and now you're saying, I don't remember this detective asking me this question.
Ahora usted está cambiando su testimonio en este momento porque ahora está diciendo que no se acuerda que el detective le hizo esa pregunta.
Is that what's happening right now?
¿Qué es lo que está pasando en este momento, señor?
recuerdo.
I don't remember.
So you're changing your testimony, and now your testimony is that you don't remember. Is that right?
Usted está cambiando su testimonio. El testimonio de este momento es que no se acuerda, ¿es cierto? Yes.
Okay. That interview that you did at the county attorney's office, that was recorded. Were you aware of that?
Esa entrevista que usted hizo en la oficina de la Fiscalía del Condado, esa entrevista fue grabada. ¿Usted se acuerda de eso? ¿Estaba usted consciente de eso?
Sí,
Yes.
And that recording was transcribed. Do you know what that is?
Y después la grabación se hizo una transcripción. ¿Usted sabe qué quiere decir eso?
no.
No.
What that means is all of the words that were said in that recording were written down.
Lo que quiere decir es que todas las palabras que se dijeron en la entrevista se escribieron en un documento.
And they were written down in Spanish.
Y las palabras y estaban escritas todo en español.
And then they were translated.
Y luego fueron traducidos.
If I showed you a copy of that transcript with those written down words on it, would that help you remember?
Si yo le mostrara una copia de esa transcripción con esas palabras ya escritas, le ayudaría a recordar. I don't know.
Let's give it a try.
Vamos a intentarlo.
She
this
confused
is
him so
exhibit.
far that he's done.
Can we put this in front of the council table and the witness? Yes, for the witness, please.
We're looking.
I'm looking for it.
I don't remember the question. Are we still asking what his name is? Mr. Not Ruiz?
I believe it. Is that it? I believe this is Defense Exhibit S, but I will double check on that.
No, just go with I believe and
Can you
maybe
see it?
possibly.
It's from my computer. And now we can't see it. Okay. Can you see that document that's in front of you?
¿Puede ver ese documento que tiene ante usted?
Say I don't know. Say I don't know. Say I don't remember.
¿Lo ve?
Sí.
Yes.
And are you able to read the portions that are in Spanish?
¿Y puede leer las partes que están en español?
Sí,
Yes.
And specifically, I'm looking at page 12. Do you see the number 12 right there?
Específicamente estoy viendo la página 12. ¿Ve ahí usted la página 12? ¿Qué dice el 12?
12 no hay 12.
There
You-
is no 12.
You don't see the page number that says 12.
¿No ve el número de página que dice 12? ¿Sí lo ve?
Sí,
Yes.
Okay. Right above that, there's a number 22. So it's showing you line 22. Do you see that?
Arribita de eso viene el número 22. ¿Ve dónde está ahí la oración que con el número
Sí.
22? Yes.
And can you read the question that is on the page right there?
Y puede leer esa pregunta que está en esa
Sí.
página. Yes.
And is that question, have you transported drugs into the United States?
Y esa pregunta dice, ¿has transportado drogas a los Estados Unidos?
sí, dice no.
What did he say?
But it says no.
So the question that was asked to you was, have you transported drugs into the United States?
Pero la
Correct.
pregunta que le hicieron a usted dice, ¿has transportado drogas a los Estados Unidos? Eso es lo que dice
I
la
like this
pregunta.
guy.
Sí,
Yes.
I like
And
this.
your response was no.
Y su respuesta fue no.
Sí.
Yes.
And that was not true, was it?
Pero eso no era cierto, ¿verdad?
no.
No.
And we can take that down.
You wasted all of our time for that.
So you told something to the investigators in this case that was not true. Is that correct?
Entonces usted le dijo algo a los investigadores que no era cierto, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yeah.
You lied to the investigators in this case,
Objection.
correct?
Usted le
Asked and
mintió
answered.
a los investigadores en este caso, ¿verdad?
No fue una mentira, sino que, pues, como me preguntó que si en el momento que había sido los disparos, que si yo cargaba droga, yo dije que no. Fue una confusión que yo tuve.
Well, it wasn't a lie. When he was asking me if I had carried drugs during the time of the shooting, well, that's when I said no.
Let's take a look at that transcript again. Can we put that up in front of him again?
Vamos a ver la transcripción de nuevo.
Can you still see it? Oh, sorry.
¿Ahí la ve? ¿Ya la puede ver?
Sí.
Yes.
So you're saying that this was not a lie, this was a misunderstanding, is that right?
Entonces usted está diciendo que esto fue una mentira, fue un malentendido, ¿es
Sí.
correcto? Yes.
Because you're saying he was asking you if you transported drugs into the United States on this occasion with Gabriel, is that right?
Porque usted dice que usted entendió que le estaba preguntando si había transportado drogas en esta ocasión en el incidente con Gabriel, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
But that's not what the detective asked you, correct?
Pero eso no fue lo que el detective le preguntó, ¿verdad?
No, pero yo eso fue lo que yo me imaginé que me estaba preguntando.
No, but that's what I thought. I imagined. I figured that's what he was asking.
So that's not what he was asking, but that's what you imagined he was asking you.
Entonces, eso no fue lo que él le estaba preguntando, pero eso es lo que usted se imaginó que le estaba
Sí.
preguntando. Yes.
Prior to being asked this question, have you transported drugs into the United States? You were asked questions about crossing previously into the United States. Is that correct?
Antes de que le preguntaran, de que le hicieran la pregunta de que si había transportado drogas a los Estados Unidos, antes de eso le habían estado preguntando de otras, si había cruzado otras veces a los Estados Unidos, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
And those were general questions, right?
Y esas eran preguntas muy generales, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
They were asking you about all of the times that you'd previously crossed into the United States, correct?
Le estaban preguntando de todas las veces que había cruzado a los Estados Unidos, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
And you were answering them in general, right? About all of the times that you had crossed into the United States, correct?
Y usted estaba contestando en general sobre todas esas veces que había cruzado a los Estados Unidos, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
And then right after that, they ask you, have you transported drugs into the United States? And you're telling us that you believed they meant on this particular occasion only. Is that right?
Entonces le están haciendo así las preguntas y luego llegan a la pregunta que si había cruzado drogas y usted está diciendo ahorita que pensó que se referían a este incidente en particular.
Sí.
Yeah.
We can take that down, Valeria. Thanks. Thank you. I want to go to January 30th now, and I want to ask you some specific questions about that date, okay?
Ahora, quiero que vayamos al 30 de enero. Le voy a hacer unas preguntas específicas de ese día. ¿Está bueno? Okay.
You said you arrived at around 12 o'clock to cross into Mexico. Is that right?
Usted dijo que llegaron aproximadamente a las 12 de mediodía para cruzar la frontera.
Sí.
¿Correcto? Yes.
And just to be specific, you just went to the end of the wall and you waited for a guide to show up. Is that right?
Entonces, específicamente usted está diciendo que fueron ahí a donde está el final del muro y ahí esperaron a que llegara el guía.
Sí.
¿Es correcto?
Sí,
Yes.
And you brought $2,500 in cash with you, correct?
Y usted traía $2,500 en efectivo ahí con usted.
sí,
Yes.
And you waited until somebody showed up and said, I'm a guide, I can take you across. Is that correct?
Y ustedes esperaron, usted esperó ahí hasta que llegó alguien y dijo, yo soy el guía para cruzarlo a los Estados Unidos.
sí,
Yes.
And you're saying that that is a person by the name of El Cholo. Is that right?
Y usted dice que esta es una persona a la que le llaman el Cholo,
Sí.
¿correcto?
sí,
Yes.
And you didn't know that person?
¿Y usted no conocía a esta persona?
no,
No.
Never seen him before?
¿Nunca lo había visto antes?
no,
No.
And you handed him $2,500 in cash.
Y usted le dio a él $2,500 en efectivo.
sí.
Yes.
What did he do with it?
¿Qué hizo él con eso?
No sé.
I don't know.
You put it in his hands, right?
Usted se lo dio a él en las manos, ¿verdad? Yes.
And he took it, right?
Y él lo tomó, ¿verdad?
Sí,
Yes.
Did you see him put it somewhere?
¿Usted vio que él lo pusiera, lo guardara en alguna parte?
no. Lo echó a su bolsa.
He put it in his bag.
What bag?
¿En qué bolsa?
En la bolsa del pantalón.
His pocket in his pants.
So he put it in his pocket.
Se lo puso en la bolsa del pantalón.
Sí,
Yes.
He didn't put it in a bag.
No lo puso en una bolsa.
no, su bolsa. Yo miré que nomás echó su bolsa.
I just saw that he put it in the pocket.
And just for my own clarification, I'm hearing the word bolsa to describe both pocket and bag. Is there is there some way we could distinguish those? I don't know. Okay.
This is the interpreter speaking. When he refers to bolsa, he's talking about the pocket in his pants. I can try and come up with another word, but at
Okay.
first the bolsa was a bag, but he's motioning to the pocket in his pants.
Okay, I think we can figure it out. Sorry about that. So $2,500 in cash. Do you remember how many bills you had?
$2,500 en efectivo. ¿Usted se acuerda cuántos billetes traía?
Eran de 20, no sé cuánto.
It was $20 bills. I don't know how many.
So you had $20 bills that formed $2,500. Is that correct?
Entonces usted traía billetes de $20
Sí,
y era un total de $2,500, ¿verdad? Yes.
Is that a pretty thick stack?
Este es un bonchecito medio grueso,
así.
like this.
Like this?
Sí.
Así? Yes.
That's how thick the stack of money was that you handed to El Cholo?
Así de grueso era el bonche que usted le
Sí.
dio a El Cholo.
Sí,
Yes.
And he put this stack of bills in his pants pocket?
Y él puso ese bonche de dinero en la bolsa del pantalón.
sí, nomás lo echó y salió y ya lo sigamos.
Yes, he just put it there and then we started following him.
And how many people were with you when you started to follow El Cholo?
¿Cuántas personas iban ahí con usted cuando ustedes empezaron a seguir al Cholo?
9,
9.
Is that including El Cholo?
9 incluyendo al Cholo.
sí,
Yes.
And you didn't see any of those other people hand El Cholo any bills?
¿Y usted no vio que ninguna otra de esas personas le diera al Cholo dinero o billetes?
No.
No.
I believe you said in your testimony that you jumped the fence to come into the United States. Is that right?
Creo que usted dijo anteriormente en su testimonio que ustedes habían brincado el cerco, ¿es correcto?
no,
Para entrar a los Estados Unidos.
no, era por el lado del muro.
No, it was on the side of the wall.
Describe how you crossed into the United States.
Descríbame cómo cruzó los Estados Unidos.
Al final del muro,
At the end of the wall,
Did you have to go through anything to get from Mexico into the United States? Was there any sort of barrier there?
usted tuvo que atravesar algo a la hora de cruzar de México a los Estados Unidos. ¿Había alguna barrera o algo ahí?
rieles.
Railing.
There's railings there. Okay. Is there anything else that you have to go through besides railings?
Hay rieles ahí, pero hay algo más que tienen que atravesar aparte de rieles.
No,
No.
Did you go over the rails or under the rails?
¿Usted pasó por encima de los rieles o por abajo de los rieles?
encima.
Over.
So you climbed over the rails.
Entonces usted se trepó por encima de los
No es tan alto.
rieles. They're not tall.
So you climbed over them.
Entonces pasó por encima de ellos.
Sí.
Yes.
And I know your testimony today is that El Cholo is the person who's guiding this group. Is that right?
Entonces su testimonio el día de hoy es que el Cholo es el guía, es quien está guiando a este grupo,
Sí.
¿verdad? Yes.
Do you remember speaking with Detective Barba and Sheriff Hathaway about this case?
¿Usted recuerda haber hablado con el detective Barba y con el sheriff Hathaway sobre este caso?
Sí.
Yes.
Was that around February 15th of 2023?
Fue alrededor más o menos del 15 de febrero del 2023.
Sí.
Yes.
Do you remember telling Detective Barba and Sheriff Hathaway that Gabriel was the guide?
¿Usted recuerda haberle dicho al detective Barba y al sheriff Hathaway que Gabriel era el guía?
No.
No.
You never said that to them?
¿Usted nunca le dijo eso a ellos?
No.
No.
So if either Detective Barba or Sheriff Hathaway come in and testify, and if they say that you did tell them that Gabriel was the guide, they're not correct about that, right?
Entonces, si el detective Barba o el sheriff Hathaway vienen a dar testimonio aquí y ellos dicen que usted había dicho que Gabriel era el guía, entonces no es correcto lo que
No.
están diciendo. No.
You were going to look for work when you were crossing, is that right?
Usted iba a ir a buscar trabajo cuando cruzara, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
You're saying that you were going to go to Phoenix, is that right, and work in Phoenix? That was the plan?
Usted dijo que iba a Phoenix, que iba a ir a trabajar en Phoenix, que ese era el plan.
Sí.
Yes.
And did you tell that to El Cholo, or did El Cholo show up and say, we're going to Phoenix? How do you pick the destination that you're going?
Y ¿usted le dijo al Cholo que quería ir a Phoenix? ¿O el Cholo llegó y le dijo vamos a ir a Phoenix? ¿O cómo fue que escogió el destino a donde iba a ir?
No, porque ya donde ellos los dejan, pues ya no sé yo después qué iba a hacer.
Where they drop
Yo sé
us
que-
off and then I don't know what else they were going to do.
How did you know you were going to go to Phoenix if you don't know where you're going to be dropped off?
¿Cómo sabía usted que iba a ir a Phoenix si no sabía dónde lo iban a ir a dejar?
Porque iba a buscar la manera.
Because I was going to find the way.
You didn't know where you were going to be dropped off?
No sabían a dónde usted no sabía dónde lo iban a ir a dejar.
No sabíamos a dónde los iba a dejar él.
We didn't know where he was going to drop us off.
So you show up and you pay El Cholo $2,500 to take you somewhere, but you don't know where that is.
Entonces usted llega, le paga al Cholo $2,500 y no sabe ni siquiera dónde lo va a ir a
No más
dejar.
por cruzarlo.
That's just to cross.
How far are you going to go?
¿Qué tan lejos va a llegar?
No sé cuánto. Íbamos a caminar 2 días, 3 días. No sé.
I don't know. We were going to walk 2 days, 3 days. I don't know.
El Cholo told you were going to walk for 2 or 3 days to get somewhere?
El Cholo le dijo que iban a caminar de 2 a 3 días para llegar a algún lugar.
Sí.
Yes.
And you have no idea where that is, though.
Y usted no tiene idea dónde.
No,
No.
And when you get to where you're going, do you have any idea if that's somebody who's going to pick you up in a car, if that's a house? What idea do you have about where you're going to go?
Y cuando usted va a llegar ahí, lo van a recoger, tiene idea si va un carro por usted, si va a ir a una casa.
no,
¿Qué idea tenía usted de a dónde iba?
no sabía. Hay que si en carro o casa, no sé.
I don't know. I didn't know if by car or at a house. I don't know.
So you had no idea about that either.
No tenía idea de eso tampoco.
No.
No.
Did you bring enough food and water for 2 days?
¿Traía usted comida y agua suficiente para 2-3 días?
Sí,
Yes.
You had food and water with you when you crossed?
¿Usted traía comida y agua cuando cruzó?
sí,
Yes.
And that was enough, you say, for 2 or 3 days. Is that correct?
Y era suficiente, usted dice, para 2 o 3 días, ¿correcto?
sí.
Yes.
How much water did you carry with you?
¿Cuánta agua traía?
6 litros.
6 liters.
You carried 6 liters of water with you personally?
Usted personalmente traía 6 litros de agua.
Sí,
Yes.
Was that in a backpack?
En una mochila.
sí,
Yes.
Was that in a camouflage backpack?
En una mochila camuflajeada.
sí,
Yes.
You carried a camouflage backpack, is that correct?
Usted traía una mochila color camuflaje, ¿correcto?
sí,
Yes.
With 6 liters of water in it, right?
Con 6 litros de agua dentro de la
Sí.
mochila, ¿verdad? Yes.
Did anything happen to that water?
Algo le pasó a esta agua.
sí.
Yes.
What happened to it?
¿Qué le pasó?
La tiré cuando miramos la borda del patrón, tiré la mochila.
When I saw the border patrol, I threw it away. I threw away the backpack when we saw the border patrol.
So you dropped your backpack and you ran when you saw Border Patrol, is that right?
Entonces usted tiró la mochila
La comida,
cuando vio al border patrol.
sí, porque ya no podía.
Yes, because I couldn't anymore.
Did you have any other bag with you, like a fanny pack or something like that?
¿Usted traía alguna otra bolsa, tipo una cangurera o algo así?
No,
No.
What about Gabriel? What was he carrying?
Y con referencia a Gabriel, ¿qué es que él llevaba?
su mochila,
Backpack,
Camouflage backpack?
también de color camuflaje.
sí,
Yes.
Was it the same as yours, more or less?
La misma mochila que usted traía, más o menos.
sí,
Yes.
Other members of the group, are they also carrying backpacks?
Los otros miembros del grupo también llevaban mochilas.
sí,
Yes.
Camouflage backpacks?
También de color camuflaje.
sí.
Yes.
Is Gabriel carrying any other bag with him?
¿Llevaba alguna otra bolsa, Gabriel?
Los demás, no, unos la miraron, otros no.
The other ones, some saw it and some saw. Interpreter is going to require repetition. ¿Gabriel tenía alguna otra mochila?
No,
Alguna otra bolsa, digo.
nomás la que llevaba.
No, just the one that he had.
So he had a backpack that he's carrying on his back, is that correct?
Entonces él tenía una mochila que él está llevando en la espalda, ¿correcto?
Sí,
Yes.
Is he carrying any other bag?
¿Lleva alguna otra bolsa?
no me fijé. No sé.
I don't know, I didn't notice.
You don't know if he's carrying a fanny pack?
Usted no sabe si él estaba llevando una cangurera.
No,
No.
Do you remember what Gabriel was wearing?
¿Usted se acuerda de qué ropa traía Gabriel?
un pantalón así, como este color casi khaki.
A pair of pants like these, this color, almost khaki,
Camisa como así también igual, camuflaje también.
and a shirt that was the same camouflage also.
A camouflage shirt?
Camisa color camuflaje.
Sí,
Yes.
Had you ever seen Gabriel wear those same clothes on other occasions?
En algún momento, en alguna otra ocasión, lo había visto a Gabriel vestido de esa ropa.
no,
No.
approach the witness, Your Honor.
What is she doing?
I'm just going to put a piece of paper in front of you, okay?
Voy a poner una hoja de papel delante de usted, señor. ¿Está bien?
Sí.
Yes.
And I've just drawn a T in the middle of that paper.
Y he dibujado una T en medio del papel.
Sí.
Yes.
Can we say that this up here is north?
Podemos decir que aquí en la parte superior de la T es norte.
Sí.
Yes.
Can you draw an N up here to show that that's north?
Puede escribir una N ahí arriba para mostrar que es norte.
Can you show me where south is?
¿Me puede mostrar dónde está sur?
If that's north, where's south?
Si ahí estamos hablando del norte, ¿dónde está el sur?
He's got a 6th grade
Y
education.
luego usted acaba de poner una S para el sur, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
Can you show me where east is?
¿Me puede mostrar por dónde se ubica este?
That's east.
Es este.
And can you show me where west is?
Y también me puede mostrar por dónde es oeste.
Can you put a W where west is?
Puede escribir una W por dónde es oeste. Oeste. No,
You can't put a W where west is.
no puede escribir una W por dónde es oeste.
That's west.
Oeste.
Can you put an E where east is?
Puede poner una E por dónde es este.
Smart.
Ahora sí lo que pienso.
This Elmo's going to kill them all. This Elmo, she's going to try to use the Elmo now. It's going to be upside down.
Turn it around.
It's upside down.
Called it.
A little bit higher.
A little bit higher, guys.
So can we have the witness take a look at this? And this is defense exhibit BBB.
I'm gonna need repetition on the number.
Defense exhibit BBB. Can you see this piece of paper on the screen over there?
Señor, ¿puede ver esta hoja de papel en la pantalla ahí?
Sí.
Yes.
And this is what you just drew, is that correct?
Y este papel es lo que usted acaba de dibujar, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
And this N right here symbolizes north, is that right?
Y el N que está aquí, eso quiere decir norte, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
The S here is for south, right?
La S representa sur, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
Then we have west over here
Y luego oeste
I
aquí
wanted to see it.
and east over here,
y este aquí,
correct?
¿correcto? Yes.
Your Honor, I'd move to admit defense exhibit BBB.
No objection.
BBB is admitted.
Oh, and actually, should permission to publish that too.
Condition granted.
When you crossed, you said you meet up at the end of the wall and then you go over the wall. Is that right?
Cuando usted cruzó, usted dijo que se reunió, que ustedes llegaron juntos y luego cruzaron, ¿correcto?
Sí,
Yes.
Was that east or west of Nogales?
¿Fue este o oeste de Nogales?
al sur.
To the south.
Where were you in relation to Nogales? Were you west or were you east?
¿Dónde estaba usted en relación a Nogales? ¿Estaba al oeste de la ciudad o al este de la ciudad?
Al este.
To the east.
To the east. Do you remember being asked this same question previously when you spoke with Detective Rodriguez at the county attorney's office?
¿Usted se acuerda que le hicieron esta misma pregunta anteriormente cuando usted habló con el detective Rodríguez de la oficina de la Fiscalía del Condado?
No me acuerdo.
I don't remember.
Would it help to look at that transcript again?
¿Le ayudaría a ver esa transcripción otra vez?
And Valeria, can we pull up or just show the witness and counsel table what I'm looking at? Do you see that document on the screen?
Señor, usted ve el documento que está en la pantalla.
Sí,
Yes.
And can you read what's written there in Spanish?
Y puede leer lo que está escrito ahí en español.
sí,
Yes.
And do you see the question where he says, is it to the west or and then the answer says west. Do you see that?
Usted ve que hay una pregunta donde se pregunta si es al oeste y luego la respuesta es oeste. ¿Ve eso?
sí.
Yes.
And then a little bit further down, you're asked again, west for clarification, right?
Y luego, si usted ve un poquito más abajo, le preguntan otra vez para aclarar oeste, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
And you told Detective Rodriguez in this interview that this took place west of Nogales. Is that correct?
Usted le dijo al detective Rodríguez en esta entrevista que usted puso en un lugar oeste de Nogales, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes.
And you also testified at a hearing in this case where you also stated that this took place west of Nogales. Do you recall that?
Y también usted testificó en una audiencia que se trataba también de este caso, donde usted declaró que cruzó en un lugar oeste de Nogales. ¿Se acuerda de eso?
Judge, I understand
I
how
don't
you
remember.
feel.
You don't remember?
No se acuerda.
If another witness who heard your testimony said that you told the court that this happened west of Nogales, would that witness be telling the truth or would they be making that up?
Remember when I said I really wanted to hear this other lawyer again? Well, I don't. I give up. I don't want to hear her anymore. Just get going, lady. Get to the point. Yeah, he messed up his answers. It is abundantly clear. He said west when it was really east. He said his name was Ruiz when it was, I don't know how to pronounce that. We get it. We understand.
Ahora, si este otro testigo escuchara, sí, perdón, interpreter's going to start over, si otra persona, otro testigo que presenciaba, escuchó que usted dio testimonio diciendo que usted le dijo al juez en esa audiencia
She made me
que
yawn.
había pasado en un lugar oeste a Nogales, ¿sería la verdad o estaría inventando este otro testigo?
La verdad.
The truth?
So it's possible that you said that this took place west of Nogales at a previous hearing where you testified in this case.
Entonces, es posible que usted dijo en una audiencia anterior que se trataba de este caso, que usted dijo que cruzó oeste de Nogales.
Sí.
Yes.
Valeria, we can take that down. Thanks. Now today you're saying that this happened east of Nogales. Is that correct?
Ahora hoy usted está diciendo que esto sucedió al este de Nogales, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. So you've changed. Previously, twice, you stated this took place west of Nogales. Today you're saying this took place east of Nogales.
Entonces está cambiando su declaración. 2 veces anteriormente usted dijo que el incidente sucede, que usted cruzó oeste de Nogales y hoy está diciendo que cruzó este de Nogales. ¿Correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
When you crossed with this group was all men. Is that correct?
Cuando usted cruzó con este grupo, el grupo se trataba de puros hombres, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. There weren't any women in this group.
No había mujeres en el
No.
grupo. No.
You didn't meet up with Gabriel before going, other than just meeting up with him at the end of the wall. Is that correct?
Usted no se reunió con Gabriel antes de irse. Lo que hizo fue reunirse con él en el muro, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
So you didn't know that Gabriel was going to be there that day, correct?
Entonces usted no sabía que Gabriel iba a estar ahí ese día, ¿correcto?
No sabía.
No, I didn't know.
And Gabriel didn't know that you were going to be there that day either. Is that correct?
Y Gabriel tampoco sabía que usted iba a estar ahí ese día, ¿correcto?
No.
No.
Did you carry a phone with you or any communication device with you when you made this trip?
Cuando usted hizo este viaje, ¿traía algún teléfono, algún tipo de dispositivo para comunicación? ¿Usted?
Yo
Did I?
Yes.
Sí.
sí traía teléfono.
Yes, usted tenía teléfono.
Sí.
Yes, I had a phone.
You took a phone with you when you came across?
Usted se llevó el teléfono con usted cuando usted cruzó.
Sí.
Yes.
Did Gabriel bring a phone that you were aware of?
Según lo que usted sabía, ¿tenía teléfono Gabriel?
No.
I don't know.
You don't know.
No sabe. Usted,
No lo podíamos prender. No sabíamos si había o no había teléfono.
we weren't able to turn it on. We didn't know if there was or there wasn't a telephone.
So you didn't know if Gabriel had a phone or didn't have a phone. Is that correct?
No sabía usted si Gabriel sí tenía o no tenía teléfono, ¿es cierto?
No sé.
I don't know.
Do you recall if Gabriel was carrying a radio with him?
¿Usted se acuerda si Gabriel traía con él una radio?
No.
No.
No, you don't remember. Let me ask that question again.
Voy a hacer la pregunta otra vez.
Did Gabriel have a radio with him?
¿Tenía Gabriel una radio en su persona?
No.
No.
You're sure that Gabriel was not carrying a radio, right?
¿Está seguro usted que Gabriel no llevaba radio, cierto?
No sé. No lo miré.
I don't know. I didn't see it.
So now you're saying you don't know if he had a radio or not.
Ahora está diciendo que no sabe si él sí tenía o no tenía radio.
No sé.
I don't know.
Was Gabriel carrying binoculars?
¿Llevaba Gabriel binoculares?
No sé.
I don't know.
Do you think you would notice if he was carrying binoculars?
¿Usted cree que se hubiera fijado usted si él sí estuviera, si hubiera estado con binoculares?
No.
No.
You don't think you would notice?
¿Usted no cree que se hubieran fijado?
No.
No.
It'd be pretty odd for somebody who's just crossing for the American dream to be carrying binoculars, right?
Sería un poco extraño para alguien que está cruzando nada más por el sueño americano llevar
That
binoculares,
would not be
¿cierto?
odd. Why would that be odd?
No entiendo.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
You're walking through the desert or through this area and you're anticipating walking there for 2 or 3 days. Is that right?
Ahora usted está caminando por el desierto, por el monte, por el área y usted está pensando que va a estar caminando 2, 3 días, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
And everybody's carrying water, right?
Y todo el mundo lleva agua, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
Water's pretty heavy, right?
Y el agua pesa bastante, ¿correcto? Yes.
It's heavy enough that you actually dropped all of it when you ran from Border Patrol, right?
Y es tan pesado que usted dejó que el agua se cayera cuando
Sí.
usted estaba huyendo de la Border Patrol, ¿correcto? Yes.
It's fair to say you're not going to take something with you on a journey like that that's going to be heavy unless you need it, right?
Está bien decir, o sea, sí se puede decir que usted no va a llevar algo en un viaje tan pesado a menos que lo necesita, ¿correcto? Ya.
If you're on the run from Border Patrol, binoculars is a necessity. You have to look around and see if they're there, right? I mean, you don't want to just stroll up on them.
So if you don't need a pair of binoculars, you're probably not going to bring those. Is that right?
Entonces, si usted no necesita binoculares, a lo mejor no los va a llevar, ¿correcto? Correct?
Do you remember if El Cholo had any binoculars?
¿Usted se acuerda si el Cholo llevaba binoculares?
No me.
I didn't notice.
You don't know.
No
Do you know
sabe.
if El Cholo was carrying a radio?
¿Sabe si el Cholo llevaba radio?
No sé si llevaba o no sé.
I don't know if he was carrying one or not. I don't know.
And you don't know if anybody was communicating on the radio. Is that right?
Y no sabe usted si alguien se estaba comunicando por radio, ¿verdad?
No, no sé.
No, I don't know.
You recall testifying at a preliminary hearing and stating that Gabriel was not carrying a radio. Do you recall that?
¿Usted se acuerda que usted dio testimonio en una audiencia preliminar donde usted declaró donde dijo que Gabriel no llevaba radio? ¿Se acuerda de eso?
No llevaba.
He didn't have one. He wasn't carrying one.
That's what you testified to before, too. Is that right?
Y eso es justo lo que usted testificó también antes, ¿correcto? Ajá.
You say there are a number of people in this group and they're all men. I think we talked about that. Was Gabriel the only person in this group that you knew?
Ahora hemos mencionado que había varias personas en el grupo, que el grupo estaba formado de puros hombres y Gabriel fue la única persona en el grupo que usted conocía.
Sí.
Yes.
You didn't know anybody else in this group. Is that right?
Usted no conocía a nadie más en el
No.
grupo, ¿correcto? Yes.
You gave an interview where you talked to Detective Barba and Sheriff Hathaway. We've talked about that.
Pardon. I think the witness just said the opposite of what the translator said, so can we just go back and clarify that?
Denise, can you read the last question?
Sorry.
Question was, you say there were a number of people in this group, they were all men, you talked about that. Was Gabriel the only person in this group that you knew? He said yes. You didn't know anybody else in that group, is that right? He said yes.
Can we re-ask that question, because I actually heard the witness say something and then the interpreter said that.
I think he said correct, but you can ask the question again. I think she said yes when he said correct, but why don't you ask the question again?
You didn't know anybody in this group besides Gabriel, right?
Usted no conocía a nadie en este grupo aparte de Gabriel,
No.
¿verdad?
No.
No.
Okay. When you spoke with Detective Barba and Sheriff Hathaway, you told them that you did know somebody else in the group. Is that correct?
Cuando usted habló con el detective Barba y con el sheriff Hathaway, usted les dijo que sí conocía a alguien más en este grupo, ¿verdad?
No.
No.
So they never asked you, do you know someone named Ramon? Ramon. They never asked you if you knew somebody named Ramon.
Entonces ellos nunca le preguntaron si usted conocía un Ramón. Ellos nunca le preguntaron
Me
si usted
preguntaron. Sí
conocía
me
a
preguntaron,
acuérdese que tengo que terminar. Ellos nunca le preguntaron a usted si usted conocía a un Ramón.
Sí me preguntaron.
They did ask me.
So they asked you if you knew who Ramon was, right?
Ellos le preguntaron que si usted sabía quién era Ramón.
Sí me preguntaron.
They did ask me.
And you told them that he was part of the group, that you knew him, right?
Y usted les contestó que que sí era parte del grupo, que lo conocía.
Que lo conocían, ¿no?
Not that I knew him.
You said that he was in that group with you. Is that correct?
Usted dijo que sí era parte de ese grupo, ¿correcto?
Escuché que mentaban, dije.
I said that I heard that they were called that name.
You said that you heard somebody who was in the group who was with you was called that name.
Usted dice que usted escuchaba que a alguien de los que iba con usted en ese grupo le llamaban por ese nombre.
Mentaban, sí.
Yes, that's what they called him.
That's what who called him.
¿Quién le mentaba ese nombre?
Los muchachos que iban ahí, pero no yo ahí tampoco los muchachos conocía.
The guys that were there, but I didn't know the guys either.
Okay. So this is somebody that you didn't know from before, but when you travel, you're traveling together. So he was with you in the group.
Entonces, esta es una persona a la que usted no conoce de antes, pero cuando van en el grupo juntos, esa es una persona a la que usted conoce ahí en el grupo. Cuando
Sí,
van
ahí
juntos,
sí.
cuando van cruzando.
Sí.
Yes, there,
Okay.
yes.
In that meeting with Detective Barba and Sheriff Hathaway, they never showed you any photographs of other people. Is that correct?
En esa junta con el detective y con el sheriff, ellos no le enseñaron a ustedes ninguna fotografía, ¿verdad?
Sí,
Yes.
They showed you photographs?
Le enseñaron fotos.
sí.
Yes.
And I'm asking specifically about the meeting you had with Sheriff Hathaway and Detective Barba in February of 2023.
Y estoy hablando específicamente de la junta que tuvo usted con el detective Barba, con el sheriff Hathaway, en febrero del 2023.
They showed you pictures at that meeting.
Le enseñaron unas fotos en esa junta.
Sí,
Yes.
And this is the meeting that took place in Mexico. Is that correct?
Y esta es la junta que se llevó a cabo en México, ¿correcto? Yes.
And you're saying in that meeting in Mexico, you remember Sheriff Hathaway and or Detective Barba showing you photographs.
Y usted dice que en esa junta que se dio en México, usted recuerda que el sheriff Hathaway o el detective Barba le enseñaron unas fotos.
sí.
Yes.
What were the photographs of?
¿De qué eran esas fotografías?
De personas a ver si las conocía, pero no las conocía, ni eran del grupo.
No.
No.
Of people, if I knew these people, but they weren't in the group.
Bueno,
Now, I think you might be getting your dates confused a little bit. Somebody showed you photographs on August 21st of 2023. Does that sound about right?
Creo que se está confundiendo un poquito con las fechas. Alguien le enseñó unas fotos. This is the interpreter speaking, Your Honor. Somebody showed him some pictures in August.
August 21st of 2023.
Alguien le enseñó a usted unas fotografías en una junta el 21 de agosto del 2023, ¿verdad?
Sí,
Yes.
una vez me enseñaron nomás.
When they only showed me one time.
And that was a different meeting from the meeting you had with Sheriff Hathaway and Detective Barba in Mexico. Is that right?
Y esa fue una junta diferente a la que usted tuvo con el sheriff Hathaway y el detective Barba, ¿verdad?
Sí,
Yes.
Okay. So I want to go back to when you cross and you're with the group. I believe you said you run into Border Patrol and everybody scatters. Is that right?
Ahora, quiero regresar a cuando usted iba cruzando con el grupo. Usted dijo que se encontraron con el Border Patrol y entonces todos se salieron corriendo.
Sí.
Yes.
Do you know where you are when you run into Border Patrol?
¿Usted sabe dónde está cuando se encuentran con el Border Patrol?
Seguíamos la carretera, nomás le escuchamos que el cholo lo gritó y dijo, viene la migra por la Washington y ya.
All I heard is that Cholo screamed that the Border Patrol is coming and that we're on Washington. And that's it.
So El Cholo says the Border Patrol's coming.
Entonces el Cholo dice que ahí viene la border.
Sí,
Yeah.
And we are at Washington.
Y dijo, estamos en Washington.
sí.
Yeah.
Do you know what Washington is?
¿Usted sabe lo que es el Washington?
No.
No.
Okay, so you don't know what El Cholo means when he says we're at Washington.
Entonces cuando el Cholo dice estamos en Washington, usted no sabe a qué se refiere.
No.
No.
Okay. Did you see Border Patrol?
¿Usted vio la Border Patrol?
No. Nomás le escuchamos que iba pasando.
No, we just heard that they were passing by.
What did you hear?
¿Qué fue lo que escuchó?
El ruido del carro.
The sound of the car.
So you heard a car And-
Escuchó un carro.
and you believed that was Border Patrol.
Escuchó un carro y ustedes pensaron, usted piensa que era el
Que se había
Border Patrol.
parado, sí.
That they had stopped, yes.
Was that on a road?
Era en una calle,
Sí.
yes.
Did you start, when you crossed over at the end of the wall, did you start by traveling on a road?
Cuando cruzaron al final del muro, ustedes empezaron a caminar por una calle,
Por el monte.
on the hill.
Did you see a road at the end of the wall when you crossed?
Al final del muro, cuando cruzaron, ¿usted vio una calle?
Sí.
Yes.
Is that the road that goes along the wall?
Esa es la calle que va a lo largo del muro.
Sí.
Yes.
Did you see other roads?
Vio otras calles.
Sí, hacia los lados. De tierra.
Dirt roads on the sides.
On the sides of what?
¿A los lados de qué?
A los lados del para allá, para el este, al oeste, para el frente, al sur.
On the sides going there, east, west, to the south.
Okay. And you don't know which one of these roads is the road that Border Patrol is on when El Cholo says Border Patrol's coming, do you?
Y usted no sabe en cuál de estas calles o por cuál de estas calles es por donde viene la Border Patrol cuando el Cholo grita que ahí viene la Border, ¿verdad?
Ya íbamos, ya no mirábamos las calles, nomás las que íbamos a cruzar, que nos dijo que la Washington.
We didn't see any more roads, just the one that we were gonna walk across, that he said it was Washington.
Okay. So you're at a place that El Cholo says is,
I think this is a good place to take a noon break. I want to break a little bit early. I want to give our staff some time to work on this one technical problem we have. I think we fixed it, but I just want to make sure. So I'm going to give them a little time before lunch to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our noon recess. Remember the admonition of the court. Be back in the jury room, please, just before 1:30. I'm going to reminding the witness, you're still under subpoena as a witness. You're required to be back here in court to finish your examination by both parties. You're required to be back here to testify further at 1:30. Very well, we'll take our noon recess. We'll see you all back.
Well, she just fried my brain completely by asking the same question over and over and over again in a different way. So, you were on a road. C. A road? Are you sure it was a road? C. I thought that I heard the interpreter say bolsa. I mean, bolsa does mean bag. So, but he's pointing at his pants, so the interpreter got it right. But I don't know. I just wish she would have gotten more into the case and less into everything else because it was boring. And these poor people, this poor lady right here, the most. I mean, she used to sit through all these questions of nothingness. I bet she's in screaming inside. And that's their that's the defense attorney sure he hates them. But I did want to see I did want to see if the police escorted him out, but it's over. I mean, we're at the very, very end. So we're not going to see. I don't know why the police are escorting him. I don't think that like he hasn't the judge made it very clear there's no threats or anything. I wonder if he's a fugitive or if he's in jail for something else. It can't be anything to do with this case because this was 15 months ago or more. So whatever crimes he did back then, have been done by now. We've seen how long people get for crimes. 15 months is a long time. A murder, even. All right. So I will get the next one out as soon as possible. Thank you so much for coming out today. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you later. Bye, guys.